Just comb your hair, go and wash your face. It's been a real long time since you've seen the light of day. So let thoughts come as they may, beauty and parade. Everybody all smiles when you're back in the seat again. On board the Penny Express to a beautiful darkness. It's full steam ahead to ride the rails to our next destination. Yeah!
Hello guys, sorry about that. I was trying to figure out how to add another emoji and I must be tech illiterate because was spending the entire time trying to figure out how to add another emoji. So I reached out to Baker and he's looking it up because he forgot to, which, you know, honest to goodness, it is the Mondayest Thursday in existence. I was rocking out trying to figure out the computerness, so sorry about the delay, you guys. I honestly was trying to do stuff and things. As they say in Canton, stuff and things I was doing. Welcome, Wolfram, my modly mod of Power, KLF, and Aya. Welcome, 80s Music Man, and Vicky Hat, Denise Sells. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Again, sorry about my lateness. I was working on trying to, you know, oh, yes. It says, Misery Loves Company. It's a Daria shirt. Now, not to toot my own horn or anything, but it is getting mighty loose, and so I am hoping that I can find a bit of a smaller one. I will say, so I don't know if anyone else has this mental block, and maybe it's just a me thing as with my, okay, y'all, I have to rant. Okay. And it's not their fault. They were lovely, and I didn't really pay attention to the sandwich, so it is my fault. But for like the first time in a week, I was hungry for something. And what I was hungry for was those little tater tots that, you know, Burger King sells with, of course, ranch dressing. And then when they were saying something, they're like, do you want this such and such sandwich? And I thought, you know what? Maybe I should probably eat a sandwich too, you know, not just tater tots, which, I mean, I could live on tater tots, honestly. If you haven't tried tater tot casserole, you are missing out. I will give you the recipe in just a minute. But anywho, so they come out because they had to make this sandwich because I don't know, I guess no one had taken up their offer of this sandwich before this morning. So they make this sandwich and I'm sitting there, you know, just making sure I'm going to get here for Mornings with Mo. They come out and they're like, we didn't have tater tots, but we gave you 2 extra large fries. And I was like, look, I know I have red hair, and I know you would think that potatoes would just be fine, like no matter what, I would just be happy with a tato. But no. I wanted, in fact, those little, you know, golden ground balls of goodness that were the tater tot little tops. That's what I wanted. And then I go home and I open up the sandwich, and these maniacs have put on lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but the entire sandwich tasted green. I tried to remove the offensive stuff to try to eat it, you know, because again, I paid money for it. And as a mom, I'm like, come on, you know, you can just scrape it off. This is what I tell my kids. Now that's a lie because I could taste the green on everything. And that sandwich went into the refrigerator and I'm sure it will be gone by the time that, you know, I open the refrigerator next time. So someone is inheriting my breakfast sandwich of grossness. To be fair, not everyone really hates lettuce, so that being said, why would you put lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise on a breakfast sandwich? It's wrong. It's not good. It is against the laws of human nature. And mayonnaise, can someone tell me why y'all like why anyone likes mayonnaise? It doesn't taste like anything. It's just gloopy and gloopy. As you can tell, I am a mega picky eater, which is why I generally don't ask people to make my food because it is labor intensive and ridiculous. And Mr. Mo tries. God love him, he does try, but he doesn't realize my weirdness all the time. So I'll tell him, like, can you make me toast? But let the toast cool down because I want the butter not to melt on top of it. And he's like, "You are the weirdest human being I've ever met." And I was like, I tried to warn you. I did. You just didn't listen. Well, thank you guys for coming back after the technical difficulties. We actually have no idea what happened last night. We heard two loud bangs, or at least I did, like two loud booms, and then all the power to our house went off for about 10 minutes, and so did our internet. Now, my sons were dying without, access to Roblox, so I'm glad that we got it back in 10 minutes, but you'd have thought that we had turned Amish with as much complaining as there was. Oh, we've got the lizard lip back. Now, I will say that the day 6 is a lot of still the lead detective, but hopefully they will have the brunette defense attorney cross-examine him, because if not, I can't have an adult beverage, but you may have an adult beverage in my stance.
I will allow the state to present a portion of that exhibit through 203. So I will overrule the objection. I meant 203 into the record, and you may publish at your discretion.
Did you
And
have
welcome,
an occasion
Let's
to
Talk
review
Megan's
the
Hair and
Facebook
JKD
records of the
Buck?
defendant?
Yes.
Did you come across a conversation between her and an Ernesto?
Yes.
Were you able to determine who this Ernesto individual was?
That's her brother.
Right. And did this conversation take place on October 29th of 2021?
It did. On the Facebook records, it says it took place on October 30th, but that's because it's in UTC time. So when you subtract 6 hours, then it's actually on October 29th.
All right. I published number 203. Would you go ahead and read it, and then who you're reading? State the name of who you're reading.
Yes. Stacy Rodrigues, how are you? Ernesto, bien at work. Stacy, I feel like I'm done. Ernesto, and you? Stacy, like dealing with problems. Ernesto, what you mean? Stacy, like I just want to be happy, but I can't. Ernesto, you could, why not? Ernesto, I'm going to butcher this. Achali Ganas? Stacy, I feel like I just don't have no one. I'm literally going through the hardest part of my life, and IDK if I want to keep going. Ernesto, YT Mora Q? Stacy, I feel like I want comfort, but Hosanna gives it to me, but I don't want it from her. Stacy, I think that thing I did is getting to me now.
Wait a minute. Is Ernesto her also side boy man person? How many side chicken nuggets do these people have? This is moving into Jerry Springer and your family tree doesn't fork. Oh, it's her brother. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I missed in translation. Thank you so much, KLF, for being on top of it when I am having a brain scramble day. Y'all, I honest to God thought yesterday was Thursday. I was excited tomorrow was Friday. And I was dead serious about it. Mr. Mo's like, tomorrow is not Friday. And I was like, yes, it is. With the confidence of a 4-year-old who, has no ability to change their mind. Oh, tater tot casserole. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so I do ground beef. And sometimes, you guys, I'm going to tell you, one of my tricks is, as a busy mom who is not quite as capable of doing stuff as I used to be, is when I get a bunch of like ground beef, I will brown some of it preemptively and then freeze it or put it in the fridge if I know I'm going to use it in the next couple days, just to have it ready for days I really don't feel good. But for me, it's ground beef, a layer of tater tots, and then I have a texture issue. So I go cream of mushroom soup and evaporated milk, but I put it in the blender because I don't want chunks of mushrooms. Now, I do use finely diced onions, garlic, Worcestershire sauce, and just a tiniest bit of mustard in there. I like the taste of it. No one can really tell, but I like it. Now, if you want to get super spicy, instead of the mustard, you can add some ranch powder. Yes, I'm addicted to ranch. Hidden Valley is the best. Changed my mind. That being said, you've got your meat and onion layer, then you've got a layer of tater tots, and then you pour the liquid all over it, let it, absorb and sit. Now you can add cheese on top. I do because I'm in the Midwest and we are fluffy people. We are fluffy people. So we put cheese on top, you just pop it in the oven for about 45 minutes, and you have got like the best. It just makes your house smell cozy. Now, that could be the Midwest in me, because I love me a casserole. And you can spice it up. You can, instead of cream of mushroom soup, you can use the cheddar cheese soup with some milk or evaporated milk and make like a hamburger, add bacon. So that's what I do. I mean, and it's up to you. It's really versatile. Again, you can make it like a cheeseburger, tater tot casserole, or nachos. Just kind of do whatever your family likes. I mean, again, it's a real simple recipe that just, oh, for the love of Cheetos, what am I doing? That seems to be a good one for my family, and one that you can prepare ahead of time, put in the freezer, take it out, let it thaw, and then cook it. I used to run, I know this is crazy, but I used to run basically I made ahead a bunch of meals. I didn't cook them. I froze them, and all you had to do was take it out of the freezer, let it thaw, and then cook it. So I used to do that. I used to have weekly menus, and tater tot casserole was always my favorite. Now they do have a chicken tater tot casserole that has more vegetables. So shredded chicken. I use the bag of California blend vegetables, a can of cream of chicken soup, a little bit of evaporated milk to your taste, or you can add sour cream if you want, cheese, and then you mix all that together and put it on top of the tater tots, and then you have chicken tater tot casserole, which is, lovely. No, but it does, I think it does raise your cholesterol level that vampires are no longer attracted to you. They can smell the Midwest and the, oh, let's see, what is it? Just the Midwest hot dish, sort of thing. It's always really, really good. But that's my particular recipe. I am not cooking today. I did have to cancel an appointment for my son because it just wasn't going to happen today with my legs. And, you have to admit when things aren't just going to happen for you and, reschedule. All right, you guys. Now that I know that it's her brother, it makes a little more sense. I still think that these two women have a lot of trauma in their past. Now, that doesn't excuse anything they did, but I think if you dug into the past of both of these women, there would be a lot of trauma, a lot of, abuse, and a lot of different things that probably led them to come together and form this toxic, codependent relationship.
Stacy, like the guilt and regret. Stacy, and I can't even talk to no one about it.
Heck
Ernesto,
yes.
oh, Stacy,
Oh my gosh, our meetup is going to be a potluck. I mean, is there anything more mom than that? I love that I'm like, I'm hip and I'm cool and I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I'm going to be great and I'm going to be all hip and cool. And I've turned into the mom of the internets, which is as it should be because, apparently I do just mother everyone. So it is really interesting that I have adopted many internet children, and I love it. Now, all of y'all remember I'm a size Sailor Moon for Mother's Day. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just kidding, y'all. It is a joy to get to hang out with you guys. I don't need any other present than that. But still, y'all, at least call your mama or hang out with your Mama Mo on Mother's Day.
just want to be alone, but I can't even be at my place. Stacy, I miss my life. Ernesto, well, just relax, fool. Shit happens. It happened for a reason, dog. Take a deep breath. Try to sleep, rest. Ernesto, I gotta go, fool. We'll talk, despew. And Stacy ends with, I can't.
Wait a minute. Did they just call the death, shit happens? I mean, I'm not like trying to be all reverent and stuff because we're on the Petty Express. But calling, your sister stabbing someone to death, shit happens. Wow. Just wow. Okay, let's talk Megan's hair. I feel bad because I feel like I have entered you all into a casserole addiction, but I can tell you that it is my comfort food. Like anytime that and I'll probably make it this week. Anytime I'm having a real hard time finding any food tasty or anything like that, tater tot casserole is the thing that I can eat. And maybe it's just a comfort thing. I don't know. Look, y'all, I am like a level 27 picky eater. So, I mean, y'all, I did not eat a sandwich because it tasted green and it had mayonnaise on it.
Every time I close my eyes, I see him.
On November 11th, 2021, was the defendant, Ms. Varela, contacted and eventually arrested?
Yes, she was.
Was there a body-worn camera of the defendant's arrest?
Yes.
Was that recorded by who?
Detective Hunziker.
And is that in reference to Exhibit 142?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, I'd like to publish People's Number 142.
Yes, go ahead.
It is good.
You're gonna
We ate
object
it
to
a lot
cumulative,
during
you've already
Lent.
watched this.
All right, I'll overrule the objection. The state can publish 142.
And I am not sure if Ernesto is testifying. I kind of sped through the next day, day 6, and it looks a lot like the lead detective is probably going to be cross-examined at length by the defense. I'm just hoping it's the brunette defense lady. Not much. We did get a text message from Stacy to her brother Ernesto, talking about the unaliving and how she feels, upset about, what happened. And then we are going back to the body line worn camera. And so some of them are mushy, I'm not gonna lie. Now, what I tend to do if I want really crispy top tater tots is not to put cheese on it, and then people can put cheese on their own portion if they want. But if you want crispy tater tots, just leave the cheese off, and the top part will be crispy. And you don't have to put like a whole bag on, it just needs to be a little layer. So if you want them crispier, I would just do a thinner layer. Now, because my family is huge enormous, I usually use an entire bag of tater tots. And I'm pretty sure y'all don't use the giant, lunch lady pans for your stuff. So I have to kind of remember to go it down on like the amounts that people should use, because not everyone has a, giant replacement for population family. I might do that. So here's the deal. I have decided to be brave. You guys have inspired me. And I do have my remote camera, my remote mic. So this weekend, I am going to invite you guys, if I can figure out how to live stream, on my first walker walk. Because I think I will feel braver and more comfortable walking around in my stupid neighborhood with my stupid walker with you guys along. So we are going to fake being brave until we make it being brave. That is my job. We are just going to fake it until we make it with that. Because that's how we roll on the Petty Express. We pretend to be brave until bravery comes. If it could also come with an ab or two, that would be awesome. Lord, I'm just saying. Or my boobs could use a little northern trip if you're wondering, if you're wondering God what to give me for Mother's Day. If he could, reverse gravity on the boobular area, that would be great. Could you imagine that miracle? I go to the Catholic Church and they're like, "What is your miracle, ma'am?" And I'm like, "God fixed my boobs." Not sure how far and how fast the Vatican would trebuchet me out of there, but it would be hilarious to watch. It would be a powerful miracle. Okay, see, this is the part I don't get, you guys. Now, maybe it is my internalized forever guilt. But if I had done stabulated someone or knew someone that stabulated someone and the popo come to me, I look, I am trembling. I am not going to be this cool, calm, and collected. I am going to be spazzing out and be like, look, I wasn't even there. Look, this heifer done did it. Like, I am singing as soon as the handcuffs come out. So, if you are deciding to put me as an accessory after the fact or before the fact, just know I will squeal, with my lawyer as soon as possible. Look, y'all, I'm not staying in prison with y'all. I love you. You're my internet kiddos, but I'm not going to prison. I don't look good in orange. So I would not be the, co-accomplice that you would want, because I am your friend, but I am not your friendo when you're a felonio, There are limits to my friendship. Now, if we're best friends, I say nothing, and no one knows nothing. But if it's stupid, if it's something like y'all done, unalived someone and took his phone and done, took it everywhere, even when you switch cars, look, Mama Mo is a good mom, and y'all have to learn from your mistakes sometimes.
Hi there. Hey, Detective Hunter, PD. What's your name? Stacy.
Same.
Were you guys coming here for a reason?
Or,
In the parking lot?
well, my alarm was here and it's like,
Your alarm?
let's see it.
The what? Oh, your keyless alarm?
Yeah, that's because
Let me grab a piece of paper real quick, okay?
Hey, sweetie, guess what? You're not going to need that keyless alarm. And congratulations on your first Mother's Day. I believe it's in May. So have a great first Mother's Day with your little nugget. She does seem larger, but I think it's because I tend to gain weight in my bingo flaps. So shirts always look really tight when I'm in a more fluffy state. So that could be what Stacy's dealing with. And then they have found shirts that fit her arms a little better. But that is something that might be happening there. Or she's wearing a tight shirt to be smexy. Ooh.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Okay, and Sarah, I'm going to give you some advice. It is unsolicited and you can take it or leave it. But this is my first birthday advice for babies. Get them their own cupcake. Don't put a cake in front of them. Have your own, cut up cake that everyone can have. But just give them a cupcake. And look, I'm going to tell you, it sounds like the dumbest gift in the world. I am not going to lie. And it probably encourages bad behavior. But I will tell you, for my last 4 children, I gave them a box of Kleenex for their first birthday. And the fun they had just pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. Now you have to watch that they don't put them in their mouth or anything. But they got a daggone kick out of that. They didn't even want any of their other presents. Honestly, the first birthday is really a celebration of you mamas that kept him, going and comforted. And Don't get too Twitter-pated over all the designs and motifs. No one in real life does all that Instagram bull crap unless they are highly medicated like 50s housewives is all I'm saying. Yeah, messy is the fun part, and it is interesting because there's such a range in children. So some go into it and just get it all over, and then some are texture avoidant, like they feel the frosting and it is just no. And it isn't until they realize that it is in fact cake, even though they don't like the texture, it's usually gone. But it's fun. It's just have fun with it. I know as a new mom, I got so Twitter pated about, oh, it has to look perfect or this has to be right. And it wasn't until my middle son's first birthday that I realized I'd spent all this time making a pirate cake and a pirate treasure cake and all these themed things. And I found him at the end of the party on top of the table, just destroying the cake, eating it all by his own self. So, you know what? Just let it roll. If you have to buy a bakery cake, it's not a sign of being a terrible mom. If you can't, physically do all of the homemade stuff, then you know what? Just it's cake. Look, y'all, it is cake. It is not going to go to waste. I swear I read tips from a guy. Know that if you cut open a fig and rub it on your boobs, they will lift. I don't think I'd be allowed back at the produce section, and I'm not sure that Indiana has any figs. I'd have to look. I don't think my local Walmart has figs, unless they're dried out. James Bond is like, where in the hell, what tangent did I come from? Oh, get a placemat. They have these things. Okay, so when he starts eating, they have these plastic mats that you can put under, like the high chair and stuff. Get one of them, but you have a puppers, so, make sure his cake isn't anything that's going to hurt the puppers, and I'm sure everything will be fine. But they do have these plastic mats you can put under the, high chair. Yeah, I don't think we have. I mean, I'd have to go up to like the bougie stores like Trader Joe's, which, okay, I am not allowed in Trader Joe's for reasons. Look, I go to Trader Joe's with, good intentions. I really, really do. I go in there and I'm like, you are going to buy healthy food that you normally can't find in your local Walmart. And every time I go there, I get loaded up with cookies and wine. Now, I do attempt to buy something healthy, sort of. Usually it's dark chocolate, if I'm honest. But that is why I'm not allowed in Trader Joe's without a guardian at Byam. Now, let's get back to this trial so we aren't here for 84,500 days. And good morning, Vice baby. I would probably not be allowed back in the cookie aisle, but could you imagine the video?
Gotcha. So we're working on a case. Do you mind if I talk to you for a couple minutes about it? Okay.
I believe so.
Does this person look familiar?
No.
Okay. Have you ever seen him before?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been to the Conductress bar downtown Greeley?
Yeah, a couple times.
Okay. Do you remember when you were there last?
Last Thursday?
Last Thursday? And prior to that?
I don't know. I would go often, yeah.
Okay. So you've been there with me?
Oh, no, y'all. I would be like, ma'am, she done, or sir, she done did it. She did it. Don't take me to jail.
Corrections.
Y'all, I'm not going to be cool and collected like this.
15th Avenue Court in Greeley?
No.
It's all roughly by 25th Street, 11th Avenue.
No, it's a big
What's that?
sports fighter.
Well, it's a house.
Oh.
Okay.
I go to like after parties, but I don't think in there.
Okay. Would there be any reason that you don't remember him because you were too drunk to remember him?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay. Would you have been too drunk to say that you were over at that house?
Maybe, I don't know.
You don't think you've been there? Okay. What vehicle do you usually drive? This one? Okay. Is there any other vehicles that's registered to you?
No. You can check, right?
Okay. Yeah.
My phone is on.
Okay. And is that Hosanna?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you guys friends?
Yeah.
Okay. More than friends?
Hey.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bro, like, announcing kind of like,
Whose vehicle is this?
just like,
Okay. What vehicle does Hosanna drive? She doesn't have one? Okay.
well, I think she used to, but I don't want to ask that. You can ask her.
Okay. Do you drive a Malibu?
No, I don't.
You don't? Okay. Have you ever driven a Chevy Malibu?
No. I don't know.
Just this one?
I believe this was about
Like, I don't do one.
3 weeks or so,
That's okay. I can.
because
So you never driven a Chevy Malibu?
incident happened in October, and I believe they found them in November, end of November.
Okay. Can I get your current address?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I am just really, again, as someone who has an innately guilty conscience for no reasons other than I think I inherited like super Catholic genes. And so I, became a recovered Catholic, but then I, still maintained that original sin guilt. It just strikes me as so foreign that she shows absolutely, I mean, I am looking intently to see if there is any sort of show of anxiety or, disquiet or anything. And she is very, very just calm. And it is totally anathema to my entire, anxious sort of personality. Okay, I admire Stacy for being able to stay calm. I don't know if it's sociopathy, but, I do admire that a little bit. Now, maybe it's because I have a soul. I don't know.
I talked to Stacy here. She said she doesn't know who this is. She was at Cubetta's last Thursday, and maybe a week or two prior to that.
I would go up and say, no. Yeah.
She doesn't believe she's ever been to the 2413 15 Avenue Court address. She doesn't know anybody who drives a silver Chevy Malibu.
No.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And have you ever driven a Chevy Malibu? Okay. What's your current address right now?
45, 40, West First Street.
You hear Greeley? Okay. What's your current phone number?
900,
Okay.
878,
22.
I feel that in my soul, Aya. I really do.
Right, Stacy, you said that apartment.
I love how she is trying to find a hair tie. And they're like, ma'am, you are going to county. You're fine. I'm sure they have hair ties there.
It's like still short, the guy.
See, the other thing I'm shocked with is that the cops are standing so close to her as she's shuffling through her car. They seem so relaxed. It's really quite disquieting to see them kind of let her go through her car and rummage around. Okay, you know what? She is really short. She might be 250-ish.
And put your fingers together. There you go.
Give or take 50.
I'll put two handcuffs on you so it's a little bit easier for you.
There you go.
I will appreciate that they tried to make it, comfortable for her. She has a very flat affect.
Jimmy, can you put a poker stick me on you right now? Oh, can you just spread your feet for me? Oh, are these actual pockets? Nope. Why is that? Most women's hands don't have. Okay. Anything hidden in your bra or anything like that? Money, cigarettes, lighters, anything like that? Okay.
Now in Indiana, that would be a different answer. She'd be like, "Yes, my phone, my bra, my phone is in my left cup. My pager is in my right. I've got $27 in quarters somewhere near the bottom of the cup, and I have some scratch offs in the center." Giving you a little insight in Indiana, or at least my neck of the woods. because the brawl purse is a thing. The brawl purse is a total thing in my neck of the woods in Indiana. I do not endorse the brawl purse. I do not endorse the prison pocket purse. But yet, still in my Hilljack community, we stand the boob purse for some reason. Ugh.
Just wait a few minutes. Let's figure it out.
I said I just showered.
What's that? What was that?
I said I just showered.
Oh, okay. Do we have a transport?
So this is speculative, and take it all with a total ramen noodle packet of salt. But so here's what I think happened. I do think that Stacy for sure was a victim of some sort of violation, whatever that may be, of her personal space, of her bodily integrity. I do think that, probably when she was very young, she kind of looked at life thinking you could either be a predator or a prey, and she decided to adopt the predator sort of outward trappings. Maybe she gained weight, she didn't show any emotion, and she learned that, acting tough, being tough was a physical and a deterrent to people hurting her. So I don't know how much of Stacy's personality is molded just by nature, and how much of it was nurture. But I do think that she was a victim at some point in her life, and she looked at it black and white and said, if I'm going to be a victim or a predator, I'm going to be a predator. And I think she just adopted this persona, and it became who she was. Whenever she had a feeling, whenever she was, going to crack, she just hardened that wall, and she kind of closed things off. I wish she had gotten help. I wish that she had been taken out of whatever situation that did this, but there is a firm line between when you were the victim and when you become a predator. And Stacy crossed that. So however bad I feel for the little girl Stacy, who had some allegedly or possibly something terrible to her happen to her, it still doesn't give her the right to take a life. The one small mercy is that the children weren't with them.
Three, 5, 6. Show off no custody. Custody, female.
Ugh. It's not my thing. I will say the only time I have ever shoved anything into my bra was when I was pretending to be Sarah Boone. Now, I will say, Sarah Boone, see, the good thing about being semi-fluffy is that I could put an entire bottle of, Mad Dog 2020 in my brawlular area. Now, I don't know how much that equals in cheese slices, but I'm just saying sometimes being part of the big old boulder holder club is a good thing. Of course, then you go to the, liquor station and you ask for, a bottle of Mad Dog 2020, and you ask if they have a smaller one because you're going to shove it in your bra, and you realize that, that is probably not the open-end statement that many people want to hear or can understand. So then you have to explain that you, in fact, are a semi-professional funny person on YouTube, and it's part of a bit. And then they just look at you like, oh, bless their heart. Is your helper around? Do you have a guardian? And I'm like, no, they let me out all by my own self. Can you imagine? Yeah.
You just face me, just lean against the door. Can you get out of the wind just a little bit?
Thank you.
I will say they are exceptionally gentle with these two and courteous, which is they should be.
What are they talking about?
I can't hear.
And with this particular statement, and I don't mean to keep pausing, I do believe that Stacy was the dominant in the relationship. Now, I don't know how much of Hosanna's testimony is exaggerated to help herself. But looking at the two, personalities, and again, I don't know how much Hosanna was putting it on the stand. So I don't know really her baseline, but just the fact that Stacy's like, what are they saying? She's not really worried about herself, but she is definitely worried about what Hosanna is saying. And I do think that was sort of the dynamic. I do think that Stacy definitely knew that Hosanna was probably maybe not as committed. So, that fear of losing the one person she thought she found made her incredibly jealous and controlling. But Hosanna was also, well, a bit of a floozy. I'll say it nice.
Part of what you're arrested for.
No.
Being arrested for first degree murder, arson, burglary, and daring to assist body. Okay?
Is there proof of that?
Yes. Yeah. You want to talk to me?
Is there
I'll tell you your
proof of
story.
that?
I'll talk to you, okay? It's up to you. You don't have to talk to me. But if you want to tell me your story, I'll listen to you, okay? But I do have proof. It's not a coincidence I ended up here right now, okay? So it's up to you. Would you like to speak to me about it? Like I said, you don't have to.
Judge, given the time, I think this would be an appropriate point to stop. For the
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and break for the evening. Give me just a moment. I want to remind you that until the trial is completed, you must not discuss this case with anyone, either in person.
So my read on Hosanna, and again, I am just a person who observes people. Hosanna seems like someone who, again, found the love of her life, allegedly, when she was very young. And this is something that, I think a lot of moms who maybe had kids early in life maybe see all the things that other people do, or, there is that, there's a good Reba, in Reba We Trust. There's a good Reba song called Is There Life Out There? And it does speak to the sort of, identity crisis that I think a lot of moms have, especially when their kiddos are young. Your life revolves around your kiddos, and that's how it's supposed to be. It's not, anything different. But, the fun, sexy, hot part of your marriage relationship is not going to be the same once you have kids. And I think Hosanna kept jumping from person to person, thinking she was addicted to that front part of love, that obsessive, and you don't really worry about the person snoring and everything they do is cute. She was addicted to that particular part of love. The love that is patient and grows and understands and works out problems. I don't think she's mature enough to be in love like that, but she can definitely handle the first part of the infatuation love. That being said, I am not a relationshipologist.
Using the internet or by any other means. This includes members of your family, people involved in the trial, other jurors, or anyone else. If
Oh,
someone
I am
approaches
not
you and
afraid
tries to
of
discuss
curse
the trial
words. I will
with
have to
you, or if you
look.
see or hear anything about it even accidentally, please let me know about it immediately. You must not conduct any research, undertake any investigation, or otherwise obtain information about the case from an outside source. You must not read or listen to any news reports or internet information or other electronic sources about the trial.
All right, now we are on to day 6. Oh, crap. This chick. Why this chick? Lord in heaven above, why this chick? And again, thank you so much to Justice is a Process for doing the wonderful thing of taking all of this I believe Stacy is day 7. So we have, it looks like some defense witnesses, and then I believe Stacy will be the last one. But it looks like we've got a couple other ones. Aya said, we have some major Okie drama here. Reba legit ripped off the design of Ree's restaurant and store, and she even lured away many cooks. Ree changed the whole look of the mercantile because of that. That's a butt monkey move. Reba, don't make us redheads look bad. I like you. Look, I will belt out fancy. I really will. I love that song, although yiblets. But that is not cool. Oh, Lord, not this chick. I love when I go in and I'm like, oh, flap jacks. This is going to suck.
Dr. Burson said.
Okay. And
Oh, she's wearing a skirt.
As
We
we've
get to see
heard-
some
Dr. Burson
legs.
said.
okay. And as we've heard and we've seen, his phone traveled to the area of 4532 First Street Road
I don't
in
know why
Greeley
there's a box on
at
it.
approximately 6:13 in the morning,
Correct.
which means if he's, again, deceased, someone else presumably has his phone.
Correct.
And that's really what sort of jump-started your investigation, or a big significant lead. Is that fair to say?
It was a big lead, yes.
And this case is approximately 3.5 years old at this point, right?
Yes.
And after all this time, Mr. Dickerson's cell phone has never been located.
No.
And you've had opportunities to talk to his father, Alan Dickerson, right?
Yes.
Many times, right?
Yes.
His mother, right?
Correct.
His roommate that we've heard about, Mr.
Yes.
Lamming.
Yes.
Okay, Aya, quick question. And I go over to the Merc often, really good food. Pawhuska is about an hour away. Every other time I go to Tulsa, normally I go through Pawhuska. I'm sorry, I love fancy. Would you rather it be, is there life out there? Because I don't know about y'all, but Huey Lewis in the 80s, and they were like, and could we go back to music videos that tell stories? Y'all remember, look, y'all, I'm on a tangent day. My pain is not great today. So I'm tangenting. But y'all remember when music videos told stories and they had like a meaning, and it wasn't just women shaking their butt and clam in your in your face, like you can almost see their little starfish and you don't wanna? I mean, do you remember? Do you remember when they used to have like stories, or at least, a plot or something, instead of just oiled up women with their boobular areas all, just bouncing and flapping? Remember? Pepperidge Farms remembers. Seriously.
No one ever mentioned anything to you about a second phone being missing, correct?
No.
The only person who mentioned a second phone, or Mr. Dickerson even owning a second phone, was Miss Varela.
That's correct.
And Miss Varela told you about the second phone as part of her proffer, right?
Yes.
And specifically a claim that Miss Rodrigues stole 2 phones from Mr. Dickerson.
Correct.
And that's just not supported by any other evidence that you've obtained throughout the investigation.
Oh, yes, sorry. How is the weather over there in Oklahoma? Is it constantly raining, constantly storming? Is it kind of mild? Look, I'm open to Arizona. I am trying to fight my deep, deep lettuce-like hate for it. But I'm wondering if Oklahoma is okay too. My mom would be so proud. Are the Oklahomas Huskers? Because look, I have lived with a woman for all my life, and she is a football fanatic, and I'd never got it. But she's a big old Huskers fan, so if I moved there, oh, well, there you go. See, I don't even know stuff. Linda Lou, sorry, I am so glad you found us too. Oh, they're the Sooners. Okay, well then I can't move there because I think they're religiously against the Huskers, and it might piss my mom off. Okay, Mo, you cannot continue to keep making life choices because they piss off your mother. You're not 10. but I still am a redhead, and I started doing that to irritate my mom. As I always say, a team of, I would need a flock of therapists, and they would write a DSM-7 for me, just me. I'm kind of waiting for it. I want to truly horrify one of them
No.
or confuse them.
And as you testified yesterday, because of the initial efforts in the beginning of the
Oh,
investigation in
humidity.
terms of the
Dang
video
it.
surveillance, the license plate readers, you knew that there was these three individuals in
Daggone
Mr.
it,
Dickerson's house.
Caliph. I was
Correct.
hoping
There was
Oklahoma
only
would
those
be
three
it.
individuals in the house.
It's the only ones I saw in some video surveillance.
Correct. And so I think you testified yesterday that essentially who was in the house was never really, after that initial part of the investigation,
Oh,
was never
good
really
to
up for
know.
debate.
As far as like, did I believe there was anybody else in the residence?
Correct.
No. After I reviewed video surveillance, I didn't see anybody else coming in and out other than those three individuals.
And by the time November 11th comes around, you know who is in the house.
Yes.
And so that means if Mr. Dickerson's one phone is missing, it's either Miss Varela or Miss Rodriguez
I have
who took it,
mentioned
right?
Oregon
Correct.
to
Especially in light
Mr.
of
Moe.
the movements of the Google.
Now, y'all, we are just sidetracking, but it is okay. I have mentioned Oregon to Mr. Moe. I do remind you all that Mr. Moe is more Shiite conservative than I am, so maybe we could find a rural area that's maybe closer to Idaho. But it has been one of the places I looked at just because it has all the trees and cabins and such and such. But I definitely have been looking, and, you know, we'll be in a place in a couple years where I can take solo trips and, you know, see how I like different climates and do all that. So I definitely need to do more research. It's just, it's a bit overwhelming. It's a bit overwhelming to think about moving and looking at all this. So thank you guys so much for giving me some ideas, because I was a little bit at a loss, to be honest. I will look these guys because, ooh, Nike, or Nike as they say in England. Ooh, I'll have to look at that. I know we'll have the boys, so we need to have good schools too and things like that. So it's just, it's a big project. It's, you know what they say, it's like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? And as a child, I was like, who the fuck tries to eat an elephant? And where did this even come from? Why would you try to eat an elephant? Like, I get the point of the kind of, oh gosh, what is it? The idiom, I really do. But I mean, y'all, who the hell decided to try to eat a flippin' flapjack elephant? And then who thought it was a good idea to tell someone that?
Location.
Correct.
And as the detective, the lead detective on this case, you're trying to figure out who took it, right?
Caliph,
Between the
I'm
two?
sorry
Yes.
about that.
Yeah, well, I know
That
one of them
might
took it.
take
Yes.
Oklahoma
And
off the
so
list.
as a detective, you routinely apply for search warrants, as we've heard, right?
Correct.
And you wrote numerous search warrants in this case.
I did.
And search warrants are a really effective tool because you can just secretly get it and then show up to a location unannounced and search the location.
Correct.
Why does she sound like she's pissed off that they can get search warrants, you know, just with a judge and they don't have to let the defendant know? Also, why is she reminds me of a teacher that thinks that you're all functionally, well, mentally deficient, if you will. So she bites on her words like this, or it's a very kind of controlled way of speaking. She's very, it's just something in her tone that pisses me off. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm sure you're a good person in person, but your voice.
There's certainly nothing public about when you apply for a search warrant, right?
No.
In fact, it's designed to be secretive, the process,
Correct.
and designed to give you as law
Possibly.
enforcement sort of definitely the advantage of surprise,
Correct.
so that people don't have the time to destroy evidence, right?
Correct.
There's no risk of losing the evidence, right?
Correct.
And you got a search warrant for Ms. Rodriguez's brother's, or the family residence at 4540 First Street Road.
I did, yes.
And that was obtained again in secret.
Yes.
There was no way Ms. Rodriguez or her family would have known that you guys were getting a search warrant, right?
I hope not.
Right. If this right. I mean, do you know of any way that they would have known?
Not unless that information was leaked, and I don't believe it was, so no.
By a judge, right?
Or the courthouse, but no, I don't presume that happened in
Okay.
this circumstance.
Okay. And so the search warrant was executed, correct?
Yes,
Numerous trained and skilled members of the Greeley Police Department searched the residence.
correct.
And it was essentially in the middle of the night too, right?
Yeah, I think it was close to midnight, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, one of her family members was actually in the bathroom, like using the restroom actively. when
I
you
think
guys showed
Ramon
up.
was, yes.
Yeah. Completely unexpected, right?
Yeah,
And every room was searched carefully.
yes,
Every cabinet,
yes,
under the mattress, in the bed, everything, right?
correct.
Trash cans.
Yeah,
And Stacy wasn't there, right?
she was in jail.
Right. She was already arrested at that point,
Yeah.
right? And her family's actually finding out that she's arrested through this process.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I told them they were arrested. I don't know if they knew she was arrested before then, so.
They didn't tell you anything like, yeah, I knew she was arrested on first-degree murder charges, and that's why you're
Yeah,
here.
yeah, they didn't mention anything like that.
This
And
one I
Mr.
don't
Dickerson's
believe was
phone
an
was never located in that
ex-prosecutor.
residence.
No,
The Zales ring was never located in Miss Rodriguez's family residence.
no,
The debit card was never located in Miss Rodriguez's family residence.
no,
Not a single item belonging to Mr. Dickerson was located in her family residence.
no.
Throughout the investigation, as we've heard, there was also a search warrant.
KLF said, I can't wait for Becca to get back in YouTube chats. She's helping her daughter rehab from a motorcycle wreck in October. Oh gosh, no helmet, traumatic brain injury. You're going to love each other. Well, I hope she is okay, and I hope she's getting support. Caretaker burnout is real. So hopefully she is getting a little break, because I know how, you love your family member or whoever you're trying to care for, but it can get overwhelming, and you need to take time to fill your own cup. So I hope she's doing that too, because I know how hard it can be to kind of help someone, and especially if there's memory problems and they don't always remember, or they get frustrated because, they can't quite process everything. It's not the easiest thing. So I hope she's getting a lot of help.
Warrants on Miss Rodriguez's Chevy Tahoe.
Correct.
That was the 1999 Tahoe, correct?
Yeah,
And through the investigation, you and other officers learned that essentially Miss Rodriguez kept a significant portion of her belongings in her Tahoe.
yeah. I learned that she was living on inside of the Tahoe, so there's a lot of belongings. Correct.
Correct. And just like the residence, the search warrant was conducted under an element of surprise, right?
Well, yeah, I was at the police.
Yes, it actually is from a bottle. My hair is probably a 7 blonde. It's pretty blonde. I would say it's a sandy blonde. When I was a kid, I had white blonde hair. I did look like a child of the corn. I mean, I may have gotten called that like every day. But actually, my hair is probably just a shade or two darker than the Penny Problem voice. So that's why when I say that she needs to add some dimension, or start wearing more pastels, because the rich colors just wash her out. I know that from personal experience.
Department.
Correct. Because as we've seen, we've seen her getting arrested, right?
Correct.
In the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then we can all agree she was clearly surprised when you guys approached the vehicle and said you're under arrest, right?
Yeah.
And then it was immediately sealed.
Correct.
And so she didn't have any time to hide any evidence in the search warrant hide any evidence in the Tahoe, correct?
Yeah. Once she was arrested, she couldn't have gone back to the Tahoe.
Correct. And again, that Tahoe was carefully searched by skilled and trained officers.
Yes.
You guys knew specifically what you were looking for.
Correct.
Mr. Dickerson's phone was never located in the Tahoe.
No.
The Zales ring wasn't located in the Tahoe.
No.
The debit card wasn't located in the Tahoe.
No.
Not one single item connected to Mr. Dickerson was located in Ms. Rodriguez's Tahoe.
No.
Likewise, the Malibu was also seized, correct?
Yes.
And you got a search warrant for that vehicle.
Correct.
And again, officers searched the Malibu carefully, looking for these specific items that everyone knew were missing from Mr. Dickerson's house.
Correct.
And again, the phone wasn't located in the Malibu.
Correct.
The ring wasn't located in the Malibu.
Correct.
The debit card wasn't located in the Malibu.
Correct.
Not one item connected to Mr. Dickerson was located in the Malibu.
That's correct.
So if you don't find a cell
And-
phone, you must acquit.
Again, that kind of makes sense because the phone or the Google location of Mr. Dickerson's phone did not remain near Ms. Rodriguez's family's residence.
That's correct.
As you testified yesterday, it was only there for approximately 6 minutes,
Correct.
and then it left.
Yes.
And it left by 6:19 in the morning.
Yes.
And Mr. Dickerson's phone traveled all the way down 11th Avenue in Greeley.
Correct.
And then at 6:37 in the morning, Mr. Dickerson's phone was located just south of 32nd Avenue and 11th Avenue.
It was, I think it was more closer to 31st Street and 11th Avenue.
31st Street.
Yeah, and 11th Avenue.
Do you recall writing in your police report that it was just south of 32nd Avenue and 11th Avenue?
It would be 32nd Street and 11th Avenue. If I wrote that wrong, then that's not correct.
So, Sarah, it looks like, so there was a Zales box that was open on the bed and had been opened before the fire, and it looked like a ring had been taken out. Now, we don't quite know what this ring was. Now, both of the women kind of described it as an engagement ring. So if these absolute heifers decided to unalive a man and then stole his daggone engagement ring and then lost it or burned it or whatever happened, these two a-holes are jerk faces.
It would be right around 32nd Street and 11th Avenue. 32nd Avenue and 11th Avenue don't intersect.
Okay, so 32nd Street and 11th
Yes.
Avenue.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They haven't
Thank you.
gotten into that yet.
And that
We
was
might
actually the
learn
very last location
in
Mr.
victim impact
Dickerson's
statements.
phone ever registered.
That's correct.
Because, shocker, y'all, Stacy on the stand did not have it going on. She was not Stacy's mom. She was Stacy's weird aunt. So she did not get out of this not guilty. We do know that. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I do like doing these trials when I know that they're absolutely, like the a-holes going away. I like doing these trials where I know they're going away in advance. And Darlene Wesley says, my hair was almost white when I was a child too. Then it has turned strawberry until I was 65. Then it changed color and went to a dingy sort of brown. I don't know what to call it. I'm befuddled. You know, hormones are a freaking weird thing. You can't live with them, and without them, you grow a beard. It's just not fair. It's just not fair.
And that location is only
No.
2 blocks away from the
But I
post
do believe
office
he
on
was
11th
socially
Avenue.
awkward and an
I think so.
introvert.
I think the post office is there. It's in Evans, so I'm not as familiar with Evans.
Okay,
but
would it help
may
you?
be.
Would it help you to look at Google Maps?
Sure. Yeah.
Because if you notice Chris, kind of every time they put him in sort of a crowded place, like the bars or the cubetta, he always kind of stood a little bit apart and just watched people. Now, while that might be creepy or could be considered creepy, that's a lot of what introverts do. We watch people. We don't really go into the crowd. We kind of watch people. We observe people. But a lot of introverts will be incredibly extroverted with their friends. So again, introverts need to invite you into their circle of extrovertiness. And him kind of being on the periphery of a lot of these bars, just kind of standing by himself, to me doesn't denote creepy. It just denotes, socially awkward and introvert. It seems like something I would do. I can't dance. If I went to cubetas and I saw a bunch of people salsa dancing, my, rhythmless behind is going to be standing there. I'm not going to go pull out my Elaine moves in front of people I don't know, even if they're drunk. And I'm drunkish. Oh Lord, what is this woman trying to pull up?
I'm showing you Google Maps, correct?
Yeah, you are.
And there is the 11th Avenue Postal Office, right?
Okay.
And there's that red dot right there.
Okay.
Right? And that is 11th Avenue and 32nd Street, right?
Yeah, 31st Street and then 32nd Street, they intersect with each other.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's approximately 2 blocks away from each other, correct?
Approximately, yeah.
And darling, why do we always find that one incredibly long chin hair when we are out without tweezers? Because You know, you have that one little chin hair and you are imagining a full-blown goatee. It's only that chin hair, but you keep messing with it and you try to pull it yourself and you just end up pinching yourself. And then you have to rush home, you know, to just, you know, tweeze it out. But it's always when you're out. It is always when you're out and you're just like, and you're like, oh, and you are imagining like a full Manchu goatee. You really are, but it's really this one little chin hair that no one can tell unless you point it out. Women are weird. I never said we were normal.
So the last known location that Mr. Dickerson's phone ever registered was only 2 blocks approximately away from that post office on 11th.
Yes.
And you know that Miss Barella's grandmother lives behind that same post office.
I knew she lived close to that area, yes.
Right. Specifically behind the post office is what Miss Barella described to you later during her proffer.
If she did, I don't remember that, but I don't discount that.
Okay. And you knew that Miss Barella would stay at her grandmother's house sometimes.
Yes.
And so the last known location of Mr. Dickerson's phone was only 2 blocks away from where Miss Barella would stay.
Yeah, correct.
And you testified yesterday that you never got a search warrant for Miss Barella's location or potential residence because you knew that the phone was at Miss Rodriguez's house 20 minutes earlier for 6 minutes, right? And only registered that last time for 2 minutes near Miss Barella's residence.
No, it only registered 2 minutes near Hannah Varilla's place from 5:57 a.m. to 5:59 a.m.
Okay.
I just know that it turned off approximately around that location.
Okay. So we'll come back to Hannah's house, okay?
Perfect.
Please
Despite
don't.
knowing the last known location of Mr. Dickerson's phone ever was 2 blocks away from Miss Barella's grandmother where she would stay, you never obtained a search warrant for her grandmother's house.
Correct for numerous factors.
You never, and let's just make sure we're talking about search warrants. Let's make sure the jury understands how this process works.
Yeah.
You don't get penalized for writing a search warrant to a court and it getting denied.
No, I don't get penalized, no.
It doesn't hurt to ask for a search warrant.
Well, there's a process that I have to go through to actually be able to bring a search warrant to a judge.
So
You have to have
right,
probable
exactly. You
cause,
have to
you
write
absolute
something.
Correct.
heifer
You write a
monkey.
document.
Yeah.
You bring it to a judge who's on call.
I don't just bring it to
He
a
is
judge.
What do you do?
Squid
I have
monkey
to go
of-
through the district attorney's
Ugh.
office.
Oh, they're the gatekeeper.
They are somebody that looks at something and says, have you met the...
Dear Lord, I can't handle this woman. Okay, I'm making an executive decision. And look, my legs cannot handle this woman. I am sorry. Usually I don't do this. But this woman has done pissed me off. And my legs are making an executive decision. We will come back to this Sunday or someday when I feel like I want to hurt myself, which is never. So we are going to come back to Baldy saving the day. I don't know why he reminds me of someone. I just can't figure it out who it is. Now I'll remember next Tuesday and then I will blurt it out on a stream. So be ready for that next Tuesday. All right. Okay, so while I'm on the subject of how I would fix her hair because she just annoys me, but I feel like if she had a better haircut, she'd be a nicer person. Because women feel better when we have good haircuts. First thing I would do is give her layers. She needs, this one length is way too heavy. It's not attractive. It doesn't frame her face. She needs some deeper blonde low lights. She actually needs low lights. So she needs to have some dimension, some variation in her hair. You could even, add some chocolate or some brown, maybe even money pieces of dark chocolate in there if you wanted to, but at least some low light dimensions just to give it some fun, and then, shape it and layer it. Kind of like my hair, because it has dimension, it's not as heavy. It would just look much better on her. Now, I usually don't help the enemy, but this is a crime against, hair, so I had to help. Great success. Yes, she is. She's also going to be, I'm sure, cast by Netflix in the next Wednesday adaptation. Daggone it, you made me snort. Gordita Wednesday. Gordita Wednesdays, actually. Erica, you're not that far behind. I made an executive conductress decision that we were going to skip all the way through Penny Problem Glass's voice. I only do that when people have voices that annoy the ever-living crap out of me and my legs are hurting. So, but we did make it an executive decision on the Petty Express to just go back to the state redirecting the lead detective, because honestly, I couldn't with her today.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. Mr. McCormick, any redirect examination? Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. So Detective Burrows, when you left off after your cross-examination, there was some discussion about the Budweiser beer bottle.
Correct.
Right? Now, where exactly was that located?
In the backyard in a trash can.
Right? And do you recall approximately how far away from the house it was?
I don't know exactly how far away it's from the house, but it's like your typical trash can that you would put out for the trash company to collect.
Right? And was there any indication that the container or the garbage can, whatever, had any type of fire damage to it?
No.
Right. Now, you were the lead investigator on the case and you sat through this trial.
Yes.
You heard the testimony from Lieutenant Greg Cobb.
Yeah.
And you've heard from the testimony of other individuals that were charged with going through the house after the fire.
Yeah.
Was there a significant amount of glass in the living room area?
Yes.
If we could publish People's Number 20, please.
All right, go ahead.
So what are we looking at here?
That's the living room of Christopher Dickerson's residence.
Was there a significant amount of debris in that living room?
Yes.
Are you able to determine if that object in the middle was where the couch was?
So I can point it out. That's what's left over the couch.
Right. And based upon the investigation, your information, as well as what then Lieutenant Greg Cobb testified to, was there a significant amount of glass on
I know.
that
I
floor?
kind of want
Yes.
to fast forward.
When you
but
reviewed the videos
we already fast forwarded
of the body
once.
worn
You only get
cameras
one
of
fast forward at trial.
Officer Flores, were you able to hear explosions in there?
Yes.
Were you able to hear glass breaking?
Yeah.
Do you recall Lieutenant Greg Cobb testifying that the front window is what failed and blew out?
Yes.
Once they were able to locate Mr. Dickerson's body, did they then, I want to call it, sift through that
Yes.
image? All right. Was there a significant amount of glass?
Yeah.
What would have happened if you would have taken buckets of glass debris and sent those to the lab for testing?
Objection, speculation.
All right, let me ask it this way.
If you'll rephrase,
Rephrase.
Mr. McCormick.
Would you have taken buckets of glass and sent them in for testing?
No.
Why not?
It'd be difficult to differentiate between the glass, what was bottles, what was glass from windows. It's difficult to tell what glass is what.
And we know that per Lieutenant Cobb.
Objection, leading.
All right,
All right, I didn't quite get the question out, but Mr. McCormick, why don't you go ahead and I'll address
I'll
that.
try it again. Did Lieutenant Cobb tell you or testify as to where the fire started?
Yes.
Where?
In the living room.
Was that where the most significant fire or heat was?
Yes.
You recall viewing photographs of the bedroom of Mr. Dickerson.
Yes.
Were there still items in that bedroom that were intact?
Yes.
If we could show people's 32, please. This is Mr. Dickerson's bedroom.
Correct.
What are we looking at here?
You're
Thursday.
looking
I
at
didn't know
some still intact
yesterday.
objects and some debris on the floor.
33?
Again, more intact objects in his bed and then items on his bed.
All right, one more. 34, please.
Same view, but now you can see the closet and the bed.
All right. And do you recall if Lieutenant Cobb indicated that there was still, while still damage in this particular room, the fire was not that as hot in the bedroom as it was in the living room?
Correct.
All right. Now, there was also testimony in cross-examination about the discussion of the wallet, and gift cards, and victim's bank account. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And how none of that had been taken?
Correct.
And based upon your review of the victim's bank records, there didn't appear to be any inappropriate activity.
Correct.
All right. You know from your investigation, or do you know from your investigation, I'll rephrase it. Do you know from your investigation that Mr. Dickerson's phone was taken?
Yes.
That phone have value?
Yes.
Do you know from your investigation if Mr. Dickerson was missing a ring?
Yeah, we couldn't find it in the house.
All right. Did that ring have value?
Yes.
All right. Now, you also had a discussion about search warrants.
Yeah.
Have you, in your career as a law enforcement officer, sought or obtained search warrants?
Yes.
Right. Has there ever been a situation where you had to have the DA call you and tell you to get a search warrant?
No.
Does that change your standard one way or the other?
No, I make my determination on what warrants I seek.
So what factors do you take into consideration?
There's a series of factors. The biggest ones we have to look at is articulable facts of the place that we're going to search and the items we believe we'll find inside.
All right. Are you familiar with the term probable cause?
Yes.
Do you know what that term means?
Yes.
What does it mean?
I guess the easiest way to explain it is it's more than likely that something happened or could be there.
All right. And is it true that in order to get a search warrant, it has to be supported by probable cause?
Correct.
And that's ultimately the determination up to the judicial officer?
Yes.
All right. Now, there was some discussion about having to go through the district attorney's office. Are you familiar with that process?
Yes.
Who instigated or instituted that particular process?
The chief judge.
Is that a protocol that's to be followed?
Yes.
Now, after the arrest of the defendant and Ms. Varela, which was on November 11th of 2021, based upon your investigation to that point, did you believe that you had probable cause, enough information to get a search warrant for Ms. Varela's grandmother's house?
I did not believe I did.
All right. There was some discussion on your cross-examination about whether or not Ms. Varela in her proffer ever mentioned or said the word gang in regards to the defendant. Do you recall that?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to hand you what has been marked as People's Exhibit 234 and 235.
You said 234 and 35?
Yes.
What's the time stamp?
Oh, and I'm sorry, can you?
I'm trying.
Sure.
Yes.
Oh, are we going to hear her confession?
Till when? 13:45 what? To when?
Clip is 52 seconds.
Judge, stop breathing so hard into the mic.
You know,
Go have fun with the little nugget. We will be here on Replay Crew for you. Thank you for your support and your fun in chat. Have a great day. She has not projected, vulnerability, anything that would garner sympathy. What are we doing here? Shuffle, shuffle. There is more Mosey in this trial than a Louisiana trial. And I'm shocked. Stop licking your lips. Get this woman chapstick. Although she might not be allowed because remember when Sarah wanted her glam squad and she couldn't get it because the prison doesn't let them have cosmetics, so she did what she could with Kool-Aid?
Sure.
What the heck is going on?
headphones, the court can listen to that.
If it's necessary, just in case.
I think we are going to watch some interrogations.
Burroughs, this is 234. Just to clarify, you did admit these?
Yes, I've admitted both 234 and 235 into the record. You may publish at your discretion.
So let me frame this before we see it. Do you recall during your cross-examination that there was a discussion about whether or not during the proffer, Ms. Varela mentioned anything about the defendant being in a gang or some type of association? Recall that?
I remember that.
All right. And you've had an opportunity to listen to both of these?
Yes.
DVDs, your initials and the date appeared on as well?
Yes.
All right, go ahead and let's do 234.
Wait a minute, sir. This is actually a not so bad haircut. Why did you go with the other one? Unless this is someone else. This isn't terrible. Glam Squad. Sorry, I will enunciate better. Glam. No. Oh crap. No, not that one.
She said that they were from California and her brothers are involved with them. One of her brothers that he's like in jail right now. And so I don't know if it was famous. Was she close to her family? She was not really, but I know she was real close with one of her brothers. And that's the one that is in jail. She was the closest with him.
All right, so Detective Burrows, where did this proffer take place?
That's located in an interview room at the Greeley Police Department.
All right, and that's you in that picture?
It is.
And that's Ms. Varela?
Yes.
And is that her attorney, Ms. Lilly?
Yes.
Now, is that room obviously is audio equipped?
Yes.
Was that difficult to hear?
Yes, very.
So on the table, if you'll look up there and take your pointer, there seems to be a little black box to your right.
There's a black
Can you
box.
tell, ladies and
Get the
gentlemen, of the
black
jury, what
box.
that is?
That's my body-worn camera.
All right, and was that on and operational at the time?
Yes.
I'm going to ask the public to pay $235, please.
Oh, so he got the body cam and it's actually better. Oh my God. Holy crap. Y'all, get out your pocketbooks, get out your calendars, get out your iPhones, and mark this day on the calendar where a court actually knew that audio was craptastic and decided to find a way to get better audio. This is a Lenten miracle, y'all. Lenten miracle. We are in fact blessed with the fact that the court actually, or the state actually found good audio, or at least gooder audio. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. I'm gonna go light a candle for him.
Day or the next day, and I was like, who were you talking to that you told him about the fire? And then she goes, nobody. She goes, I didn't tell anybody. And then I was like, but I heard you on the phone. And she goes, I didn't tell anybody, don't worry about it. And she they gave me a kiss and it just went on. And so
Okay,
and
we'll
then
go down to
she
one
brought it
because
up
she's a
again.
fast talker.
And so I don't know who she could have told her, but like throughout our relationship, like she was like associated with like these like people, like I don't know, like her like getting that she was like associated with. I never like met them, and she was always like fearful of like them.
Is that like a local thing, or she's from California, right?
Yeah,
Is it a California thing or a local?
She said that they were from California and her brothers were like involved with them. One of her brothers that he's like in jail right now. And so I don't know if it could have been like them.
Was she close to her family?
She was not really, but I know she was real close with one of her brothers. And that's the one that is in jail. She was the closest with him. But then
I have no idea.
Detective Burrows, during that
YouTube is being
clip,
funky.
did Ms. Varela use the word gang?
She did.
You also had during cross-examination discussion that you were shown by the defense this business about the beer bottles.
Correct.
And how many beer bottles were used?
Yes.
I'm going to hand you what has been marked as People's 236.
236, okay.
Yes, sir.
So 17:50. The time. Do you know what the clip says?
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 236. Do you recognize that DVD?
I do.
Are your initials and the date on it?
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to review it?
Yes.
Does it accurately reflect what's contained on the DVD?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I move into evidence People's 236.
Any objection to 236?
Yeah, I guess it,
All right,
someone
the
was.
court will admit 236 into the record, and you may publish at your discretion.
So just to give it some context, remember on your cross-examination, you were showing a clip by the defense that indicated Ms. Varela talking about just 2 bottles.
Correct.
Through the course of your interview with Ms. Varela, was there further discussion about the number of bottles that were used?
Yes.
All right, if we could play 236, please.
99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer. You take one down, bash a head, 99 bottles of assault on the wall.
Him, or where is she at?
Lawyer desperately trying to remember what his son told him about how to work this thing.
Him, or where is she at?
I don't think
And
she's
was-
on top of
Okay,
him.
so she's standing, she's kind of standing, and then Chris is on the
Yeah.
couch.
Yeah, and I think maybe he's trying to get up. I don't know.
Okay.
But and then she grabs the beer bottle and goes to hit
I'll be
like,
there
hit him,
too.
but she misses. And I go, no, don't. I go, let's just leave it. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. And she like looks at me and she I think she grabs another beer bottle, has that same one in her hand, and then that's when she hits him on the head, and gets another one, and then hits him again, and there's blood and blood on his face and like everywhere on him, and
Okay. Let me.
This is really, she has a very flat affect too. So I don't know if that's her baseline. I don't know if she was given anything in jail for anxiety or anything like that. But the way she went through it on the stand was much more theatrical than the way she's going through it now. She does have a very flat affect. I don't know which one is the real Hosanna. I haven't met her. I don't know her. And I'm not a doctorologist. But it is interesting that she also doesn't have, well, I don't know what it is. I am trying to figure it out. I can switch to just law and crime. Day 9, 8, 7, 6. Where is 5? All right, let me share this tab instead, and we will see how this one is going to go audio-wise. I do have boosters on. Oh, wait, no, we're on day 6. Daggone it, I'm a dingbat today. Pay no attention to the woman on the screen. She knows not what she does. Which is generally the freaking point. All right, let me see where I am here. Nope, here. I'm at 2, so probably a bit.
Miss for
No, we were skipping all of her. Holy crap, she went the whole morning. How insufferable is she? Wait a minute, we gotta go back. What in the... I need a screen capture of that face. Back. Okay, I'm doing a screen mark over here because I'm trying to be a better Baker-like, creator and make shorts and all that jazz too. So let's see if the audio is better. And I'm putting on the boosters. I will turn myself down so that you guys can turn the quartz up, in theory, if I'm beginning to get good at this. It's like I know slightly what I'm doing. Dobson's here. Or is it Dodson? I always wanted to call him Dyson, but I know that's the name, not the name. Give her a Hawaiian shirt and she
All right,
stole
the court will call
velociraptors.
21 CR 2296, People of the State of Colorado versus Stacy Rodrigues. The parties are
And she gets
present
killed
as
by that.
previously captioned. We come back after our lunch recess and we are outside of the presence of the
Please
jury.
clip that. The
Mr.
little,
Burrows
you
has
know,
retaken
the
his seat at
dinosaur
the
that
witness
spits the
stand.
acid.
Is there any other issues that we need to address before we resume from the defense? Anything from the state? No, sir. Okay, thank you. All right, let's bring the jury in and we'll get started.
Thank you, Judge.
That heifer went all morning questioning the man with the bad haircut. I'm so glad we skipped that, though I don't have any skips left, which is kind of upsetting. No, I don't want a sleeper. No, why is it doing that still? Okay, maybe, if it keeps doing that, we might have to skip to day 7. And I'm trying to be professional, but I know, right? I mean, at least the jury wasn't in there. Stacy, stop playing with your... You look deadly uncomfortable, and it's not a good look.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. Mr. McCormick, any redirect examination? Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. So Detective Burrows,
Okay.
when we last, when you it is 1 through 186.
And Mr. Praley, it might be more fruitful to just come up here.
Sure, thank you.
It's a sidebar. In the thing, it's a sidebar. Wait a minute, did the judge put his... Oh, for God's sake. We're marking this too, because lizard lip. Does he have a kid's toy on his desk? Yeah, she might need to. I mean, to be fair, I wish lawyers would tell their clients to either write notes or doodle or something. I don't think I could have kept up. I'd have just put infinity by 10. I just put ew.
No, I already showed 106. It was just 107. I'll have to follow up with you on that. All right, and I'm sorry, from the state, any further witnesses or evidence?
No, based on the exhibits that have been admitted at this time, the people that.
Ooh,
All right,
we're getting
thank you.
into the
Ladies and
defense.
gentlemen, I need to take a brief break and have a discussion with the attorneys out of your hearing. So I'm going to send you back into the jury room for about 15
Ooh, we
minutes or
might
so. Give me just a second here before I let you go.
I wonder if they're going to... Oh, it looks like
I
they are
want to
going
remind you that
to.
until the trial is completed, you must not discuss this case with anyone, either in person, using the internet, or
Let
by any
them
other
talk.
means. This includes members of
And
your
we can
family,
hear
people
them.
involved in the trial, other jurors, or anyone else. If someone approaches you and tries to discuss the trial with you, or if you see or hear anything about it, even accidentally, please let me know about it immediately. You must not conduct any research, undertake any investigation, or otherwise obtain information about the case from an outside source. You must not read or listen to any news reports or internet information or other electronic sources about the trial. If there has been or is any news coverage of this case, you must completely disregard it.
Oh my God, he does look like the old guy from Avatar. I never watched the new Avatar because I think they had a chick in it, and look, it was right around the time of the grape of Star Wars, or the grape of Skywalker. So I was kind of done with the girl boss movement, but he does look like a grown-up Avatar guy. Not the blue monkey people, the guy that that does all like the element stuff. And you know what? I mean, as much as people hated it, I kind of liked the M. Night Shyamalan movie. I thought it was pretty cute. But then again, I hadn't seen the anime or the cartoon or whatever you call it. I don't know if it's anime or cartoon because, look, I'm not getting into the trenches on that. There are nerds that will get, militant on you. But now I'm just gonna see him with a big blue tattoo of a arrow on his head. Terrible person. This case is ridiculous. I'm sure it will be. She just is done with the ridiculousness. I mean, she's fighting for a chick like, well, y'all didn't find the cell phone, so you must have quit.
Your verdict must be based solely on the evidence presented in the courtroom and the laws I instruct you. And finally, it is especially important that you do not form or express any opinion. You see, defense, are there any motions at this time?
Yes, thank you. Your Honor, in this case, we're moving for a motion for judgment of acquittal and asking that the court dismiss counts 1 through 5 as the prosecution has not met their burden and the evidence is insufficient to be presented to a jury. Understanding, and I understand that the court is aware of the standard under People v. Bennett, as well as Colorado Rule of Criminal Procedure 29A, but for clarity purposes, 29A requires that the court, on motion of a defendant, shall order the entry of a judgment of acquittal of 1 or more offenses charged in the complaint after the evidence on either side is closed, if the evidence is insufficient to sustain a conviction of such offense or offenses. People v. Bennett does clarify that the evidence is viewed in light and most favorable to the prosecution. However, here, the evidence presented by the prosecution is insufficient to lead a reasonable person to believe beyond a reasonable doubt that Ms. Rodrigues is guilty of the crimes charged. We are making this motion based on the due process clauses of the U.S. and Colorado constitutions, which prohibit the criminal conviction of any person except on proof beyond a reasonable doubt. People v. Hollenbeck 944, Pacific 2nd 537, Colorado Appeals 96 states, the prosecution is given the benefit of every reasonable inference which might fairly be drawn from the evidence as long as there is a logical and convincing connection between the facts established and the conclusion inferred. If the evidence is such that a reasonable juror must necessarily have a reasonable doubt, the judge must direct an acquittal because no other result is permissible within the scope of the jury's function. This is People v. Bennett, Penn site 470.
Well, at least she's citing something that's something
Now,
Owens never did.
Understanding this inference in the light most favorable to the prosecution, the burden still remains upon the prosecution to prove each element of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. As the court is aware, Ms. Rodrigues does not have a burden to testify or explain any of the allegations, and the court cannot consider the absence of such explanation in determining whether or not the prosecution has carried its burden. I'd like to start with count 1, which is murder in the first degree. The prosecution will have to prove that Ms. Rodrigues in the state of Colorado at or about the date and place charged, after deliberation and with intent to cause the death of a person other than herself, cause the death of that person or of another person. The court is aware of, under Leonard v. People, 369, Pacific 2nd, 54, 1962, that proof of killing alone is not murder. Proof of the mere abstract fact that the accused killed the deceased will not sustain a guilty verdict of first or second degree murder based on the instructions. Understanding that the court we will deal with jury instructions at a later time. First degree murder is a deliberate and premeditated killing of a human being. Okay. Do you want me to repeat that? Yes. Okay. First degree murder is the deliberate and premeditated killing of a human being as cited in Washington v. People, 405, Pacific 2nd, 735, 1965. Now,
ma'am, I don't mean to be crass or nothing, but you do know that your client actively admitted to stabulating someone 5 times. I mean, I don't want to be like that person that, isn't supportive of a female ally or nothing, but what the hell are you talking about? Like, look, they didn't have a picture of her stabbing him, so obviously she is innocent. It's like when Chandler Halderson's, attorneys stepped up. This is more for the record and appeal. If they didn't do it, it was like it didn't happen and they can't appeal on it. So her last ditch effort is going to be trying to appeal this on grounds of unconstitutionality.
Now,
I don't think
when
that's
we're
going to
looking at
work
the
well,
elements
but
of
it's a
first
try.
degree murder, the prosecution has not been able to meet their burden in respect to elements 3 and 4. I do understand Dr. Burson had testified that the manner of death is homicide, as the court is well aware, as the prosecution is well aware. That's not a legal determination, but more of the medical determination. When a autopsy is being done, as Dr. Burson had testified, there are specific types or manners of death, and homicide is ruled as one when it's believed that the manner of death would not have been caused by that individual or an accident. I think the issue in the case before the court is that the evidence in regards to what had occurred in Mr. Dickerson's home in the morning of October 3rd is solely from one individual, and credibility becomes a component for the court here.
No,
Even
we have his
understanding
body
the-
and everything else.
The lower burden that the prosecution has to survive a motion for judgment of acquittal, I would ask that the court consider what's been heard this week and last week in regard to Ms. Varela's credibility. Detective Burrows, it is clear through the evidence presented that besides Ms. Varela's statements on June 8th, 2022, Detective Burrows had no idea what occurred in the home. The prosecution did not know, really, police department did not know. Now, Ms. Varela was provided a plea agreement from the same prosecution office and was given, well, one, she did not plead to first-degree murder. She was given the opportunity of serving a sentence and the eligibility for parole. That is going to influence the way she testifies. The court also heard multiple different statements, her being impeached, and the prosecution spent a lot of time yesterday going back through Detective Burrows and trying to essentially corroborate what Ms. Varela was saying in a way that I don't think is actually material to the elements here of the car being driven, when they left the home. What actually is necessary to talk about the first-degree murder is what had occurred in the home. Besides Ms. Varela, there is no corroboration that Ms. Rodrigues had any intent, that this was after deliberation, and the contrary is true because Ms. Varela had testified that Mr. Dickerson was making Ms. Varela uncomfortable, and that at one point, Mr. Dickerson had cornered Ms. Rodrigues, so much so that he was towering over her and Ms. Rodrigues had to push him away. And this is solely coming from Ms. Varela. Within that same interaction, Ms. Varela changes and says that at that point, Ms. Rodrigues had asked for the metal file that the prosecution has admitted into evidence after she had hit Mr. Dickerson on the head with a bottle. As the court has heard, there are no broken bottles that were ever found. The prosecution has only been able to admit, I think what Detective Burrows said, that the bottle was in pristine condition. There's nothing to then suggest that what Ms. Varela has said is actually credible of what occurred to provide the prosecution with the sufficient evidence to submit it to the jury to prove with intent and after deliberation.
Ah, okay. All right. I'm not
Like to
buying what
move
you're
on
selling,
to
but
count
I'm
two,
smelling some
which is the
bullshit.
first-degree arson. The prosecution would have to prove that Ms. Rodrigues unlawfully and knowingly set fire to, burned, or caused to be burned a building or occupied structure.
Ma'am, they showed a video, like full Hank Hill, a video of your chonkular client walking up. Now, Hosanna was bigger at the time, but you could definitely tell it was Stacy who was walking into the house, and then it, started flickering like it was on fire. Now, I don't know what more you want, like a Polaroid of her striking a match, but I mean, okay. Yeah, it's not Hollywood. This isn't Hollywood. And it's very easy to bleed when you get, a contusion to your head. It's very thin skin, and there is a lot of, blood vessels there.
Sheriff Mr. Dickerson. The court heard testimony from Lieutenant Cobb, Mr. Eberly, Detective Burrows, Detective Blair, in regard, and had seen body worn from Officer Flores and Officers Berkeley, which showed that the house was in fact on fire. There were photos of the burned home. But the problem is that the prosecution has not proved that it was in fact Ms. Rodrigues who did this. Again, solely relying on an individual's testimony who was given a benefit from this prosecution's office that if she came in and told the same story that she told Detective Burrows, that she could then ask to reduce her sentence. So the fact that she has a massive benefit for this, to then say something, pinning this on somebody else, is something for the court to consider. Absent Ms. Varela's testimony, the prosecution has the surveillance videos, and the prosecution has spent a lot of time going through each surveillance video, providing blurry screenshots of close-ups, of trying to suggest that Miss Rodriguez was the individual who went into the home, and she was the individual who came out of the home after we can see light starting from the living room window. However, there has not been any evidence to confirm that this was in fact Miss Rodriguez, again, besides Miss Varela, who has that personal.
Do we have a chin pick? Do we have a chin pick? Because then we can totally ID her. We have the technology. We can do a chin to chin analysis.
Motive and bias and reason for pinning this on Miss Rodriguez. The prosecution spent a lot of time looking at the license plate readers, especially, and I think it's important to contrast this with October 16th, where Detective Burrows said that he looked at multiple photos, looked at earrings, zoomed in, matched a shirt, and believed that to be Miss Rodriguez. We have the opposite from the morning of October 3rd. What we actually have from October 3rd is one individual in a car, assuming so as the car is on. We see another individual go into the home and exit the home. But there is nothing to suggest that this was Miss Rodriguez beyond a reasonable doubt.
I don't know.
So we'd ask
I'm
that
not
the
a
court
fan.
also grant defense's motion for judgment of acquittal as in regards to count 2. I would also adopt or ask the court to consider the same argument with tampering, as again, this was considered the kind of, I think the prosecution's theory is very similar of Miss Varela being in the car. However, if the prosecution is suggesting that the tampering, where they would have to prove willfully destroyed, mutilated, concealed, removed, or altered a human body, part of a human body, or human remains with intent
Heifer,
to
did
impair
you
its or
watch
their
this
appearance,
entire trial?
availability, in official proceedings. If the prosecution is, their theory is that this was based on count 2, which is the arson, we'd ask that the court consider that same argument. I do not believe that the elements would fit should the court find that the prosecution, or should the prosecution be arguing that the tampering allegation is when Miss Rodriguez, according to Miss Varela, had taken Mr. Dickerson off the couch and onto the floor. If that is their theory, there is likewise no evidence, even in the light most favorable to the prosecution, of this. Miss Varela had said that Miss Rodriguez had to, drag Mr. Dickerson's body from the couch onto the ground to make it look like self-defense. Besides, again, the self-serving statement to save herself a prison sentence without the possibility of parole, Miss Varela had said that that's what Miss Rodriguez did. There's nothing to suggest in any of the arson investigations, anything that Detective Blair had seen in the home, or Officer DeSandre, who the prosecution has not called, but anybody that had searched the home, there's nothing to suggest that the body was moved from the couch to the floor of where the officers, or ultimately Mr. Dickerson's body was found. So in regard to count 3, we likewise ask that the court grant defense's motion for judgment of acquittal. Looking to counts 4 and 5, speaking, I guess, specifically with count 4 initially, as the underlying offense with the intent to commit a crime would be arson, as elected by the prosecution. I think the same kind of argument does apply for count 2, the prosecution has been unable to prove that Miss Rodriguez, beyond a reasonable doubt, was one who went into the home and started the fire, which would have been the intent to commit the crime of arson. In regard to count 5, we are likewise asking that the court grant defense's motion for judgment of acquittal. For second degree.
Miss, I have a question, just one. Which particular trial are you watching? I mean, I know this is all pro forma. I know this is, according to plan and that kind of thing. And I know she has to make these arguments. But every time this happens, when there is like all the evidence, I do wonder, how they get through this without laughing. Again, I don't know that I could be a lawyer, because I would be saying these things and I'd be like, look, there's really no evidence except for like the video and the FUPA ID and the chin ID. But honestly, FUPA ID and chin ID is not, a science. And then I'd start snort laughing and I'd get contempt of court. So really, I shouldn't go to law school, because it'd just be a waste of time. It would actually end up costing me more money in contempt fees.
Burglary, the prosecution has to prove that Miss Rodriguez entered or remained unlawfully in the dwelling of Mr. Dickerson with the intent to commit a crime, and as they elected, that crime was theft. They had said cell phone and or jewelry. Mr. Dickerson's phone was never found. Detective Burrows had testified that Alan Dickerson provided him with a thumb drive that had Mr. Dickerson's Google takeout information, which showed kind of where his phone would have been located using the latitude and longitude from Google. There are 2 individuals in that vehicle. Miss Varela said that she walked out with a backpack. Miss Varela also said that at one point, Miss Rodriguez then bleached everything and then set it on fire. The prosecution never found anything to support that claim. The detectives that have testified, the officers that have testified, Ms. Varela has not even provided any type of information to suggest that this actually occurred. So I think the issue here
they
is
will
when
be
we have with
moving
the
into the defense's case. The judge will probably have to have a soliloquy with Stacy before she testifies. I do believe that Stacy will be the last person to testify for the defense, but she will continue her little speechy speech, and then the state will respond. The judge will, as we know, she's been adjudicated guilty, obviously deny this motion, and then we will get into the defense's case. Now, in Colorado, I don't know if they do the kind of soliloquy with the defense or the defendant first before the jury comes back in, or if he'll do it right before she does testify. But yeah, we'll just have to listen to her little speechy speech.
intent to commit the crime of theft. I don't believe that the entry or the unlawful remaining on a property with that intent has been met here. Furthermore, an engagement ring was never even found. And I think what the court should consider here is that when the prosecution had shown the court and the jury the Zales box that was on Mr. Dickerson's bed that was opened, there's an SD card in there. There is nothing to suggest there ever actually was a ring in there to begin with. The prosecution failed to call Bethany Cook, who was the individual who was a recipient of that ring at one point, to say, does
This woman is just ridiculous. The box was open. The SD card was left. And I get where she's going. This is all true. This is all factual according to the evidence. But you would have to have mental glaucoma to not see what is going on in this case.
this look like that? The prosecution said that they had witnesses testify that they had looked into things, that they had investigated the Zales, that they found a receipt in a car. Again, nothing is to suggest that this ring was actually ever taken or was available in the home to be taken. The fact that a jewelry box was on a bed that appeared to be open, also holding an SD card, is not sufficient for the prosecution to meet their burden that Ms. Rodrigues entered or remained unlawfully in Mr. Dickerson's home with the intent to commit the crime of theft, specifically in regard to the engagement ring. Again, no cell phone was ever recovered, no engagement ring was ever recovered, and the box that should have had an engagement ring was full of something else. Your Honor, I apologize, but I just may have one moment.
Sure.
No, you may not. Denied.
I would just like to note, for purposes of clarity for a record, but also, if at all helpful for the court, I think ultimately what we're looking at here is a basis of a presumption. And so People v. Madison, 638 Pacific 2nd, 18, 1981, states that culpability cannot be determined on basis of presumption. The essential culpability for first-degree murder cannot be determined on the basis of presumption of law. Rather, the requisite culpability must be proven as a matter of fact. So looking at the totality of the circumstances here, the information that was provided, the lack of testimony from witnesses who would be able to corroborate what Ms. Varela is saying, the lack of investigation done by the prosecution to corroborate what Ms. Varela was saying, should lead the court to find that the prosecution has not met their burden here. And we would be asking that the court grant Ms. Rodrigues' motion for judgment of acquittal.
All right, thank you. Any response from the state?
Yes.
The response from the state. I have it, you guys, and I am looking for a soundboard and a doodad.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I guess I'll start by asking the court if you have particular questions of elements that you'd like me to address.
I don't have any specific questions.
Okay. The court's well aware of the standard under Bennett and Rule 29 that the prosecution is given the benefit of every reasonable inference which might fairly be drawn by the evidence as long as there is logical and convincing connection between the facts established and the conclusions inferred. That's People v. Hollenbeck. The proper standard to be applied for the defendant's motion for judgment of acquittal is whether the relevant admissible evidence, both direct and circumstantial, when viewed.
Dan, I am so sorry you're going through what you're going through, and if you would like to come on my channel and I would interview you to get more attention to getting you guys power. I'm not a big channel, but if I could give you a voice and get more people's eyes appealed on it, email me when you get a chance. I know you're super busy, just staying warm and staying powered, but I would love to try to interview, get your story out there, to try to remind people that there are still people without power, without help. And it's been almost 6 months. It's ridiculous. Our government should be doing something. So take care, be careful, and if you would like to do that, I know I'm not a huge channel, but I could help get your, anything out, or I could try to connect you to an even bigger channel and get your voice out there, get these stories out there so that people don't forget, because we're so connected to the 24-hour new news cycle that we sometimes forget that there are still people out there that are suffering from the hurricanes, that their entire houses, families have been lost. Entire towns have just been leveled. And I know things are, supposed to be getting better, but it still takes time, and we need to keep those people in our thoughts and prayers and get those stories out there so that, we can get something done for these people, because this is ridiculous.
Viewed in the light most favorable to the prosecution is substantial and sufficient to
I'm
support a
going to try to get
conclusion
in
by
touch
a
with her. I
reasonable
know
mind
she
that the
is
defendant is guilty of the
way
charge beyond a reasonable doubt.
busy with the
I
hail
think if the court
stuff,
views
so I'm
the
going to try to
evidence in
forward it on
totality
to
as
her.
both direct and circumstantial evidence combined, the court does not have a tough decision before it. Specifically, all of these should be addressed by the jury, and they can make the decision as to each of these. If the court wants me to go through each of the charges for murder in the first degree arson, tampering with a deceased body, second-degree burglary with the basis of arson,
You are
and second-degree
welcome,
burglary as a
Dan.
basis of theft,
And I'm sorry I
happy
didn't
to answer
notice
any question
earlier.
that the court has. Well, in viewing the evidence in its totality, the people have more than met the limited standard that Bennett requires.
All right, thank you. When the court considers a motion for a judgment of acquittal, the court considers whether the state has met their burden of presenting evidence which, when viewed as a whole and in the light most favorable to the prosecution, whether that evidence is substantial and sufficient to support a conclusion by a reasonable person that the defendant is guilty of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt. When the court considers the evidence presented in this trial,
Hey, Joe,
the court does find that the state has met their burden as to counts 1.
Excuse me. I posted on my TwitX account about this yesterday, along with a YouTube video Rosalind Duke did. Yes, let's get the story out there. Yes, and I apologize for not being on the ball and noticing. To be fair, I didn't know yesterday was Wednesday, so my noticing skills are somewhat wonky this week.
Through 5, so the court will deny the defendant's motion for a judgment of acquittal. When considering a motion for a judgment of acquittal, the court is not to act as a 13th juror and is to respect the jury's province to be able to consider such things as witness credibility and the weight to be given various pieces of evidence. Much of the defendant's argument would require the court to make an assessment of specifically Ms. Varela's credibility. Based on the court's view of the evidence, the court does not find that the witness is incredible as a matter of law, and it would be inappropriate for the court to make specific determinations apart from that singular determination. So the motion is denied. From the defense, do you wish me to advise Ms. Rodriguez of her Curtis rights at this time? I would not be intending to ask her to make a final decision until the close of any other defense evidence that may be presented. But if you would like me to at least give her that advisement now so that you can have a discussion about it later, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that's totally fine, Your Honor. Can I have a moment? Because I need to pump, and I'm wondering if Ms. Rodriguez, if there's have a chance to talk to her, if she's comfortable, just have Ms. Trujillo here for it while you give the advisement, and then I'll go pump if we can.
Sure. So you're going to step out, and I'll
I'm
give
just going
you.
to check and see if
Okay, okay. Ma'am, Miss Blondie, I have been mean to you all the time, but you know what? As one mama to another, having to pump every 4 hours when you're at work is a pain in the ever living behind. So I salute you. That is a good mama move right there. And again, no shame to mamas that choose, formula. I've done both with my kiddos, so no shame, no mom shame. I am so effing tired of mom shame. Like the group of people that should be supporting each other have to bitch about, oh, well, you did formula or you had a C-section. How about we stop gatekeeping motherhood? Motherhood is hard enough as it is. How about we stop, snipping and snapping at each other? Now, I know we're not going to get everyone out there to do that, but let's stop being mean girls to other moms. So, ma'am, I know I have made fun of your voice, but good on you for pumping, and I know how ever flippin' hard that is, so you have my respect. Now work on your voice and your hair and everything else, but you have my respect.
she's okay with that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, she's okay with that.
All right. Do you want to take some? Or if she needs it, okay. All right. So, Ms. Rodriguez, I have a very important advisement that I need to give you at this time. There are very few points through this process where I directly address you, but this advisement is important enough that I need to directly advise you and make sure that you understand these very important rights. So please listen very carefully to the following rights. Ms. Rodriguez, you have the right to personally testify as a witness in this case if you choose to do so. If you want to testify, no one, not even your lawyer, can prevent you from doing so. If you choose to testify, you will not only answer questions asked by your lawyer, but you must then answer questions asked by the prosecutor. If you choose to testify, jurors may submit questions to the court for you to answer, and the same rules of law, evidence, and procedure that apply to lawyers' questions will apply to juror questions. Only legally proper juror questions may be asked. If you choose to testify, and it happens to be a fact that you have been previously convicted of a felony, the prosecution would then be entitled to ask you about it and thereby disclose that fact to the jury. However, the court would then instruct the jury that they may only consider such prior felony conviction for the limited purpose of whether or not such a felony conviction affects your credibility as a witness in this trial. The court would also instruct the jury that a prior felony conviction may not be considered by the jury as evidence of guilt in the present case. From the state, is the state aware of whether or not Ms. Rodriguez has any prior felony convictions?
No.
All right, thank you. If you decide that you do not want to testify as a witness in this case, no one, not even your lawyer, can require you to testify. If you choose not to testify, the court will instruct the jury that they may not consider your failure to testify as evidence of guilt. It is the responsibility of your lawyer to give you advice as to whether your lawyer believes you should or should not testify as a witness. You should listen to and consider your lawyer's advice, but it is important that you understand that you are not required to follow your lawyer's advice. Ms. Rodriguez, do you understand these rights as I've explained them to you?
Yes.
And do you have any questions for me right now about those rights?
No.
All right. Ms. Rodriguez, I'm going to give you some time to discuss the matter with your attorneys, and I will rely on your attorneys to tell me when is an appropriate time for me to inquire what your ultimate decision is. When I do, if you need me to go over any of those rights with you again, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Ms. Trujillo, you're going to stand in recess for about 10, 15 minutes. Does that about sound right?
Yes, I think we'll need at least 15 is how I've been tracking for time.
All right. Then we'll go ahead and be in recess for another 15 minutes. Let's plan on resuming at 2:25, and then we will proceed with any defense evidence if there is any. And Ms.
And I will say it's really cool that the lawyer just kind of said, hey, I'm going to pump, and everyone was just cool with it. I am glad that it's getting maybe more acceptable and not as taboo to kind of have moms that are doing mom stuff, you know, for their kiddos. Sorry, I'm putting on socks. I am not graceful at all with these things, but I will totally recommend just type in on Amazon basically wide calf socks. They're for fluffy people, but if you have any sort of sensitivity on your legs, can't tolerate socks. They're not the, compression socks. I can't tolerate compression socks. These are really, really not tight on my legs. So they're very loose, but they don't like scrunch down. They're not that loose, but they feel really nice. I'll try to put the link up someday when I remember stuff. But I will say, as a mom who has had several jobs where I've had to pump, this kind of casual just acceptance of it was really, really cool, considering, you know, a couple places I worked, it just wasn't feasible. They didn't, you know, it was before it was in the law that you had to, you know, do all this stuff for moms. But I just find it really cool. And I'm glad that it's working out, you know, that moms are getting, you know, to do a natural bodily function rather than, you know, just making a big daggone deal about it like some of my jobs did.
Without asking you to disclose too much, it sounds like there is the possibility of at least one witness. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, and we do have 2 witnesses here.
Okay, thank you. All right, court will be in recess. Will you let the jury know?
Unless it's
Can you check that out, Sonia? If we need to go on the record to sort that out, we will. Okay.
Okay, y'all, Mr. Mo is the best. I was like, Mr. Mo, I don't know that we're going to go out on date night, but if we could have pizza, that would be awesome. And he is like, I will pick up some pizza on the way home. Mr. Mo has never been sexier. Look, I'm a cheap date. Bring me home my own pizza and we are good. It is all good in the neighborhood. Yeah, I do feel really bad for Mr. Mo because he never knows which Mo I'm going to be. Uh, and as hard as it is on me, I'm sure it's much harder on him trying to be supportive because on good days, I am like positive, I am ready to help, I am supportive. And on bad pain days, I can't be that person for him as much as I want to be. So it is really nice to have a partner that, and we still have, look, y'all, we are not Instagram perfect. Look, he snores and toots. Now, he claims that I snore, but I claim that that was only when his fetuses were in me. Now, he claims I still snore, but he realizes not to press the subject, because I do not snore. I'm a lady. I do toot, but, I don't snore. Like, there are things that I'm willing to give up, dignity and say, okay, I toot, I do. But I will not cop to snoring. Y'all, I so want to get one of those like cartilage piercings up here, but I'm so worried that I'm going to get someone that'll put it on cockeyed or something. And all I can imagine is I'd be the one person to get a staph infection or something, and then my ear would swell all up, and I don't know why I catastrophize things. Oh, Rachel D, that I had a boyfriend that would bring me a surprise grilled cheese sandwich out of the blue. It was awesome. That is a good person. Oh, ma'am, stop freaking smiling. I mean, I know the jury is out of the room. Yeah, I also wondered if it would hurt a lot. And I do have to be careful with needle sticks, especially on my left side. Y'all, so I was so gonna get a tattoo with my girls when they graduated, one for each of them, just a small one, nothing like cray cray. And, I was kind of hoping we could get matching ones. So now I'm trying to figure out something different. So if you guys have any brain waves that doesn't involve, me getting poked with a needle. And I thought about henna, but I also wanted to be respectful because I know that's usually only for weddings and things like that. So I didn't want to, be a butt monkey and, culturally appropriate or what have you. But I figured if we did like henna with, maybe like just draw mayonnaise and such and sitch, we could draw Hank Hill. I will say that is a pretty smile. And as much as I've dogged on Stacy and everything, and as awful as she's done, I do carry a small hope that she is able to atone with age, with hindsight, with a lot of growth. I do hope that she can change. Do I think that's likely? No. Do I hope that it happens? Yes. Do I think it's likely? It's about as likely as me doing naked burpees in Walmart and letting it be filmed. She was 19 at the time of the crime. I believe it was 2 years ago. So she's 21, I believe. Depending on where. Depending on where her birthday falls, I do believe about 2 years. What is the difference between the crime and the trial? So she'd either be. Oh, okay. KLF with the deets. KLF has the receipts. She is here. She is my receipt, Girl Friday. She really is. Because I'm over here like, yeah, maybe supposed to be, I think.
We are, and we are outside of the F and the court reporter. It does appear that Exhibit 107 was not admitted. Mr. Perelia, Mr. McCormick, I know you had mentioned earlier, but for the record, how would the state like to proceed as to that issue?
As previously stated, the people are not asking to open the evidence back up. I know that the court had stated at the bench conference that you, based on the court reporter having it in her notes, you believed it was. Looks like ultimately that was not the case, but again, we're not trying to admit 107. It's contained.
KLF, bless you. I used to have that. I used to be able to pull facts and names out of my hat all the time. And now it seems that I can pull pop culture and lyrics, but not names. Names have escaped me. And dates, Darlene Wesley, she did ruin her life, and she did really, really close off so many doors. So many doors. Divided by 3, so that's 3 years and some change. Look, I'm not going to do math. Well, 2.5 years because it's not just 3, but look, I'm not a human calculator. I like the law, which means I definitely don't like math. It is the law. I do think that math escapes lawyers because they are much more in the literary part of the brain. They're very word oriented, and math just doesn't work with that. Though I have seen people that are both, which is honestly unfair.
On other exhibits.
Okay, all right. Then I will consider that issue resolved unless the defense has to make a record as to that.
No, thank you.
Okay. Then are there any other issues that we need to address before we bring the jury back in and proceed with any defense evidence?
I just have one moment.
Sure.
I just have one moment.
Sure, absolutely.
I do like this judge. He is just
We're
like
here. Thank
that.
you.
All right. Anything from the state?
He's like that even-tempered dad that, you can push him, but when he lays down the law, it's not like with yelling and screaming. It is again with the, solid look of disappointment that you are all disappointments. So I do like how he runs his courtroom. I'm still trying to figure out that tattoo, though.
No.
Okay, let's bring the jury back in and proceed.
The jury is back there just like, I can't have my
thank you.
flipping
Please rise.
phone. It's taking forever. Okay. Is it bad that he doesn't look like it, but just his attitude kind of reminds me of the kid from Up? The little Boy Scout. I know the ethnicity is wrong. I know everything is wrong face-wise, but his spirit reminds me of the little boy from Up. And numbers and names used to be my thing, but they escape me now. I used to be so fast and good at Jeopardy. Now I can't get a word out before the buzzer goes. Reflexes are kaput and, aging. Rachel D., you know what? I am so glad you love a mathematician is okay with my law nerd hobby, though admittedly confused by it. You know what? I am glad there are people out there that understand mathology Because honestly, it escapes me. It does. But you guys get to do amazing things like learn how planets go and explorate things with chemistry and, figure out the fabric of life. And I get to play with wigs and be in my happy spot and not have to deal with math. So God bless you for mathing for me. Now, if you could just have done my homework in trigonometry, I wouldn't have, graduated with a D.
All right, thank you. Please be seated.
Good afternoon, Phoenix Fire.
Does the defense wish to present any evidence at this time?
Yes, please. At this time, we would call Miss Mary Claire Mulligan.
All right, thank you. Go ahead. Thank you. Ms. Mulligan, if you'll please come forward, and if you can just stand in front of the witness stand before you sit down, please.
Dear God, are they bringing a witness called Mulligan? Like the thing that you get to redo in golf? Or, what I like to call a Clendarian indulgence? Is her last name really Mulligan? Can this trial get any more absurd? I don't know, but let's find out.
Thank you. And if you'll please raise
She
your right
is
hand.
looking
Ma'am,
sassy
do you
with
swear or
that
affirm under
scarf.
penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Ms. Mulligan, if you'll go ahead and have a seat. And ma'am, if you can just get as close as is reasonable to the microphone, that will help our reporter a lot.
Okay.
Ms. Devereaux, you may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Or afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Can you please state your first name and last name, spelling your last name for the record?
Mary Claire Mulligan. My last name is Mulligan.
Thank you, Ms. Mulligan. Ms. Mulligan, what do you do for a living?
I'm a criminal defense lawyer.
Okay. And can you tell me about the education that you've received to become a criminal defense attorney?
Ooh, criminal
Yeah.
defense lawyer.
After undergraduate school, all lawyers have to go to law school. I went to the University of Colorado Law School. I graduated from there in 1992. So I've been a lawyer.
So I will say that, Darlene, have you seen the new math they're teaching kids for just adding and subtracting? It's outrageous. I have seen it. Only one of my children, their school district went with Common Core. The problem with Common Core is it does facilitate people it does help those who maybe learn differently, but children that get the math, it's another 173 steps. And the one thing I do know from my kiddos is that by the end of the day, if they have to do homework, it needs to be fairly simple, at least for really young kiddos like first and second grade. They've already used up so much energy trying to pay attention and, be good in school that by the time they get home, they are just kaput. And, oh, I will put an I. I was wondering about that, but then I know I'm not a good speller, so. So I will say that it is good for the people that maybe need a trick for math, but it's overwhelming and ridiculous for little kids who don't need that special help. If they had a test to identify who would learn better with different theories and different ways, and then they put all of those kids into the same class so that the teacher could just teach that particular style of math. But that's a lot of work, and I don't know if they thought Common Core all the way through. It is the government.
Criminal defense exclusively for 33 years almost. And then basically once you've graduated from law school, you take the bar and bam, you're a lawyer.
Okay. Do you have to have so many continuing learning education credits or classes taken throughout the year or cycles of years to maintain your license as a lawyer?
Yes, they're called CLEs, continuing legal education credits, and we do 45 every 3 years, I believe.
Okay, you guys, I'm going straight to hell, but I want you guys to imagine this chin on our chinless detective. I think he'd be pretty hot. Maybe he needs to get a chin implant. Oh my God, what tangent am I on? Anywho, she has a nice strong chin, and I just think that it would look really great on our detective.
It's the kind of thing where lawyers generally are teaching other lawyers about different techniques, ways to improve as a lawyer. I frequently teach these to other members of the criminal defense bar in the fields of, different topics within criminal defense, criminal ethics, criminal procedure, that kind of thing.
Thank you. And you mentioned that you've been practicing criminal defense exclusively
Yes.
since 1992, is that correct?
Yes.
And so can you estimate for the jury approximately how many clients who have been accused of
Ooh.
crimes that you've represented since your career began in 1992?
80s music, man, I've always been intrigued by motorcycles. Okay, question. Which ones are more stable? Look, I'm not getting like a real motorcycle, but like a tricycle. Now, the ones with the two wheels in front scare me insanely. Now, the ones with the wheels in the back look pretty cool. Now, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm going to get a leather vest and just wear that as, a shirt or nothing, but I could see me on one of them little tricycles things. Not a bike though. Look, I'm not balanceful. Don't put me on something that requires balance.
I usually say 3,000. However, when I left I was a public defender in Adams County for 5 years. So when I left there in 1997, I'd already represented 1,800 people.
Oh, wow.
Much less of a caseload now that I am in private practice, but it's well over 3,000 people.
Thank you. And what types of cases has that included?
Every possible kind of criminal case. I do both state and federal work. So sometimes I go to federal court and handle the kinds of cases you hear about there. In state court, I have done every possible kind of case from DUI through death penalty cases. Usually I do more serious cases though.
Thank you. And have you also testified before any kind of legislative bodies regarding criminal justice related issues?
Yes, multiple times, including this session.
And are you published in the field of legal practice as well?
I am, kind of. I wrote a couple articles that were published in the Colorado Lawyer and in the local bar association newsletters, things like that. My main thing really is I teach a lot of CLEs. I try to stay on top of everything because that's really why I became a lawyer, to learn more and help other people learn.
I think she doesn't come on until
have you
tomorrow.
recently won an award
But
regarding
we might get to
your
tomorrow.
legal practice in criminal defense?
If I stop
Yes,
tangenting.
last year I won
I
an
will
award
try.
given by the Colorado Criminal Defense Bar for outstanding service to the profession without regard for personal gain, meaning you don't get paid very much.
Thank you for that clarification. And have you been accepted by any courts as an expert witness in the practice of criminal defense?
Yes, I've testified as an expert witness
We
in
haven't gotten there
the
yet.
field of criminal defense in Larimer County, Adams County, Arapahoe, and Denver.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, I would move to admit Ms. Mary Claire Mulligan as an expert in the legal practice of criminal defense pursuant to 702.
Any objection?
I don't have any objection.
All right, thank you. I
That
will
makes
accept the witness
sense.
as an
Well,
expert in the
still
Crawford
good to
field.
get out
And
in the
Ms. Deborah, you may
sunshine
proceed accordingly.
or the outside.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Mulligan, I think we took over this obvious question of, are you being compensated by my office for your time?
Yes, hopefully.
Hopefully, it's always looking for, is it a substantial amount of money?
It's $118 an hour.
And
Woohoo!
approximately how many hours
118.
have you worked or plan on working in this case?
I assume it will be less than 10 hours.
Is that enough money to sway your opinion in this case?
No, but if you have a better offer, I definitely would be interested. No.
Oh my God, I love
Many
this woman.
times, as an expert witness, we're approached by a lawyer, and usually it's not in a trial situation, it's usually in a different situation. And we'll look at the case and say, I'm not going
Welcome,
to be able to
Zach.
agree with what you want me to say, so I'm not going to take that case. I do make more money practicing law than testifying as an expert. So, obviously you guys will decide whether you think I'm swaying my testimony in any way because of the money compensation. It's good money. I'm not complaining. I make a decent living.
Thank you for that. While representing over the 3,000 approximate clients accused of crimes over the past, again, approximate 33 years of your career, have you ever had any experience with a legal process known as a proffer?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what that general legal term,
Okay, so they're going to be attacking the proffer that Hosanna gave. Probably, again, to just lay more foundation that Hosanna probably cannot be trusted.
proffer means, please?
Yes. It has a couple of different meanings, but my understanding is that what you're wanting me to explain is the type of proffer where a client or defendant tells their story to the prosecution as sort of a preview. That's kind of how I like to remember the word proffer. It's like offer with a preview on, PR in the front for either a preview or proposal, or, sort of a little hint at what someone would have to say were they to ultimately testify in a case against someone else.
And can you also explain, I'm just going to do some sort of general legal terminology, what a plea bargain is?
Yeah. A plea bargain, probably like you've seen on TV, is an agreement between the client, represented by their defense lawyer, and the prosecution. And a plea bargain can be something like, okay, well, I'm going to plead guilty to a less serious offense and avoid going to trial where I would risk being convicted of the more serious offense. So many times that's what it is. Sometimes the issue is I'm trying to get a.
Oh, Old Line Red says 118 an hour is insanely cheap. With her experience, she probably bills at $800 an hour for regular clients. So would that infer, I mean, based on your professional knowledge of these kind of things, would that infer that she's cutting a deal to the defense? Or maybe they're friends and she's not charging them as much? And then could that be something that the state could maybe go after her for? Or is it sort of dependent on what the defense team can afford? Is it put forward by the state how much experts can get? I'm not quite sure about the process, and I know it's probably different in Colorado, but that does make it a little bit iffy for me. Now, I still like her. She still has a sense of humor, but that does kind of change and shade her testimony a little bit for me if that is the case.
A stipulated sentence or a better sentence for myself. And so I enter into a plea bargain because I don't want to take the risk of going to trial and possibly losing on the most serious thing that I'm charged with. I'm pleading to a lesser charge or a stipulated sentence or the possibility, of a lesser sentence so that I know what I'm looking at. Some people just like the, no risk.
And in the context of a criminal matter, who is giving that sort of plea bargain?
The prosecution.
Does the court give plea bargains?
No, the judge will decide whether to accept a plea bargain. So in other words, the prosecution is the one that has the power because they are the ones who did the charging. They made the decision as to what charges to file against a person. They can then decide, okay, well, I think this guy should get a deal that, let's give him a 10-year deal. This actually just happened this week in federal court here where one of our federal judges denied a plea bargain because she thought it was too lenient. So rarely happens, but that's the judge's real only input into the plea bargaining process.
Thank you. So in the context of criminal cases and plea bargains, can you explain?
Old Line Red said no, she probably has a certain number of clients she takes at deep discounts. Lawyers are encouraged to do that as well as pro bono work, which is often required by the bar, or you pay higher dues. Well, and she did get the award for efforts basically above and beyond and without thought for money. So my cynical brain just went to maybe it's she's going to try to lie instead of, her being altruistic. I really do need to work on my cynicism.
Explain to the jury what a proffer is.
Yeah. So when you want to have a proffer situation, it's very, very common in federal court. Not quite as common in state court, but it does happen. What happens usually is one side or the other will reach out to the other side. Sometimes it's the prosecutor, sometimes it's the defense lawyer. And what they want is, hey, maybe we can make this case work out and get to a plea bargain. And the way we're going to do that is this client has information that he wants to bargain away to the prosecution in exchange for a better deal. That's basically how it works.
And again, have you dealt with this process of a proffer before in your own practice?
Yes.
Now, do proffers typically happen on misdemeanors or not so serious cases?
Not usually. I mean, usually it's on serious cases for a couple of reasons. Although you didn't ask that, so maybe I should keep my mouth shut until you ask that, if you want to know why.
Why? Please.
Misdemeanors are really usually not serious enough to warrant something as time-consuming as entering into a proffer. One reason it comes up more in serious cases is, for one thing, many times there are co-defendants. Usually when a proffer happens, it's a co-defendant situation. And what the person does is say, hey, I'm willing to testify against my co-defendant if I get a better deal. Like I said, that's usually in that kind of situation, you're looking at a more serious case. And in federal court, the reason for why there's so many proffers in federal court is that in federal law, there are very specific mandatory minimum sentences in drug cases, and most federal cases tend to be, that's a large portion of what a federal caseload is drug cases. The only way to avoid a client facing a 10 or 20 year mandatory minimum sentence is by proffering, because if the proffer is accepted by the prosecution, the law is written so that the person doesn't have to actually serve that full mandatory minimum.
Thank you. So are proffers typically, in your experience, given to someone accused of a crime by a prosecutor if they have, let's call it a slam dunk case? Well, let me ask it this way. Do proffers typically occur in cases where prosecutors need additional information?
In state court, yes.
Okay. And are proffer agreements typically extended by, or let me ask you this. You said earlier that either the prosecuting attorney or the defense attorney will reach out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once that happens, does the defense attorney or the person they represent get a firm answer ahead of time about what that benefit is going to be?
Not necessarily. So in federal court, you kind of know what's going to happen because, again, there are specific rules for federal court. If you proffer, you know already what sentencing range the client is looking at. And so the federal prosecutor will give them a percentage off their possible sentence. And that percentage can range from like 10 to 50%. So you know that somewhere in that 10 to 50% range, lower than what the sentence would have been, is where you're going to end up with a federal proffer. With a state case, you have to write that in so that you know what the benefit for your client is. Like maybe you say, hey, if we proffer, will you be willing to give me an F2? Or will you be willing to stick to 30 years or whatever it is?
Okay. Now, is it fair to say that proffers in state court usually happen in a case where there are issues the prosecution wants to know, such as like where a body is buried, or what happened in the last minutes of someone's life, or who yielded the murder weapon?
Yeah, sometimes, especially in more serious cases, there are questions that the prosecutor wants to know. An example is a case that I had a couple years ago where it was a first-degree murder case. 3 people were killed, and there were multiple people who law enforcement believed were involved. They charged my client, and they did not charge anyone else because they just didn't have the evidence to charge someone else. So they said to us, hey, if you proffer, we'd like to know who else is involved.
Okay. And once the proffer proffer process is started.
All right. Look, this is all, we're going to go to the state because basically all of this is just to
All right. So I have a couple.
poop on the proffer that Hosanna got. And she's doing it rather clumsily. She's being smarmy. And I'm taking my powers vested in me as the conductress of the Petty Express to move us forward.
Of questions. Is it correct that you're here this afternoon kind of as a blind expert?
Yes, exactly.
Right. So you did not read any discovery of this case?
No, I know almost nothing about this case other than really Ms. Devereaux's client's name.
Okay. You never spoke to any police, correct?
Nope.
No prosecutors, correct?
No.
Why the hell did they bring this woman on? If she is what is called a blind witness, I understand she's explaining sort of the inner politics and how the sausage is made, for the jury. And I get that part because most jurors aren't law nerds who live and breathe this stuff. So I get it, but I also don't get it. You have done enough, I think, to, sway jurors that, or at least let jurors know that they need to take at least 8 ramen noodle packets with whatever Hosanna says, all the grains of salt in the ocean for whatever Hosanna says. But again, this is not a way of convincingly put that. You have already put that out there.
Except in the hallway, I spoke with your colleague there.
Okay, all right. You never undertook any examination of the facts or things of that nature?
No,
You're just talking kind of in general terms, right?
Yes.
All right, so you've practiced for a long time, since 1992, right?
yes,
And you've had, when we talk about the plea bargain, right, you've done a lot of plea bargains?
thousands, yeah.
All right. And in that particular situation, that's where you get the benefit for your client, right?
Right,
So if I were able to explain the process, your client comes to you and wants to be represented, correct?
yes,
The case is assigned to, we'll use myself as the prosecutor.
okay,
We both get discovery. We read that, correct?
yes,
And then at some point, one of two things could happen. You would either reach out to me and ask for a plea bargain or an offer, let me put you that way, or I would just take it upon myself and send you an offer. Fair?
yes.
Right? Then there's a bit of negotiation that goes on, right?
Right,
And everything depends on the particular facts of that case, right?
usually,
Okay. You indicated that if that's a lot of people, that you've represented over 3,000.
definitely, yeah.
All right. Would you agree with me then that no two defendants are the same?
Yes,
That no two cases are the same?
true,
That no two fact patterns or circumstances are the same?
that's true.
All right. And when you have these clients, you indicated that you have had clients that proffered before.
Yes,
Can you give us a ballpark figure about how many? Are you counting in your head?
not 100,
Okay.
definitely,
There is sort of a sense, and again, it might be new mom brain. I am going to lend some more grace than I was to the blonde prosecutor. But her questions are very wordy. She has like an entire paragraph, and then it's not really a question, it's a statement. And she does that both with direct and cross. So maybe it's just she's getting back into the swing of things. I don't know. But it is, she does have a very odd and awkward, I think, way of asking questions, in my opinion.
I would say it's in the tens.
Okay.
Tens of cases.
Fair enough. So maybe we'll go more than 50, less than 100.
50 might be right. I honestly did not count it up.
Okay. But
And I'm not sure I could even remember some of them.
sure, it's a process though, right?
Yes.
Now, do you recall in those situations, some of them that you can recall, were you the one that reached out to the prosecution?
It can go either way. In the past, I've done both. If I can use an example.
Of course.
I recently, in fact, you'll see in those exhibits, there was a situation that I had where my client was charged with a drug case, and he proffered because he had been an eyewitness to a first-degree murder. So it was a little bit unusual. My prosecutor didn't know about my client's role in the murder, but my client said, I want to get a better deal than I'm going to get just on the drug situation, and I've got information about this murder case.
Now, was that in regards to the federal example you gave or the state example?
The state example,
Okay.
it was actually a federal case that the federal prosecutor and the state prosecutor worked together. My client got his deal, and he testified in a state murder
Okay.
case.
So I want to go over that and see if I follow you on it. You had a client who was charged with a drug case
Yes.
in federal court.
Yes,
And as we know, this is not a federal court.
right,
We know this is a state court.
Right.
But we also know that the sentencing ranges in a federal court can be significant.
right.
So your client wanted to give particular information to, I'm assuming, either the Denver DA's office or the Denver Police Department,
Yes, both.
okay, about a homicide.
Yes.
In exchange for that working its way back up to the federal level for a benefit.
Yeah, the federal prosecutor reached out to the state prosecutor. My client, I was talking about the mandatory minimums in drug cases a little earlier. My client didn't want that mandatory minimum. So our federal prosecutor, and this is pretty unusual, but agreed to give my client the benefit of testifying in the state case. So he testified in the state case, got the benefit in the federal case.
All right. And in the state case, it was about, he was an eyewitness to a murder.
Yes,
So he was there,
yes, he was.
saw it,
Yes,
okay, provided that information
Oh,
to the
that's
Denver
cool.
District Attorney's Office.
yes,
And then ended up testifying for them
yes.
in exchange for the plea bargain up there.
Yeah.
Now, the federal proffer letter that you sent, was there any deal or offer made prior to this agreement to proffer or testify?
Is that the
Let's see.
same case? Well, maybe I wasn't clear when I explained it earlier. In federal court, there's a specific range that you're going to get every time you successfully proffer. So in other words, depending on what the prosecution thinks is the benefit of your testimony, you'll get a benefit on your sentence anywhere from 10 to 50% off. So I've got a client who's looking at a 20-year mandatory.
Oh my God. Yeah, totally, yeah, Mulligan and Mulligan sounds like Heart and Heart. Was it Heart and Heart? I know my grandma used to watch it, and I used to watch it with her, but I can't remember. The Hearts, maybe?
Minimum. The federal prosecutor reached out to me recently and said, if your client proffers, I go as high as 50. Honestly, it never usually goes that high, so I'm like, I should probably jump on that.
Okay, so that's, again, the federal range.
Right.
But go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yes, sorry.
My point is that in federal court, everybody knows these rules. So you know if you're going into federal court and you proffer, you're going to get 10 to 50% off. Usually it's about 30, and that's really the difference. There's specific Justice Department memos about it.
Okay. Well, let's, if we can, but that's not the same situation in the state's courts, correct?
Right.
All right. So I want to kind of focus on that with the proffer letter that you received from the 2nd Judicial District.
Denver.
In that office. There's nowhere in there anything about a guarantee, a promise of any type of potential offer prior to being given the information, correct?
Right. That was the case where the client was getting the benefit in federal court, so I already knew that he was going to get 10 to 40% off.
Okay. So in other cases where you've done a proffer and you don't have that necessarily the benefit with the Big Brother Federal, are you ever guaranteed anything or given an offer written up before you give the information?
Sometimes. Usually what it is, hey, like I was saying before, okay, if your client proffers, I'll consider an F2 or 30 years. I keep going back to those numbers for some reason. But I personally would not walk my client in without having an idea of what kind of benefit they were going to get. I mean, if you have somebody come in on for example, confessing to a murder case kind of thing, this is where I buried the body, and this is what so-and-so did, this is the whole story. You make your offer, then you walk out of the proffer and the prosecutor says, okay, I'll give you a stip to 48 years. That might not be what you wanted. You might have been hoping for a 10 to 32 year sentence. And so ahead of time, you need to work that out with the prosecutor. Hey, I want an F3, I want whatever, and this is what I'm going to give you. If you walk in blind.
We're learning lawyer things.
The problem with walking in blind is not just that you don't have any guarantee for your client. It's also that the client is.
Okay, you guys, I need some help. This is completely tangenty, so I apologize for, again, the tangent, but I need chat help because, honestly, I don't know what I'm hungry for, but I know I want chicken wings tonight, so I'm trying to pull a good pre-order, and I'm stuck between the herb and Parmesan or the sweet teriyaki. I think herb and Parmesan. You're welcome for figuring out what I'm getting for dinner. I don't know what she's doing here. I don't understand why she's here, what she's doing. It doesn't make sense to me as to what this brings to the table. I get what the defense is trying to do, that they are trying to, again, show that Hosanna probably wasn't very honest in her proffer, but I do believe that they have already, proven that. Ooh, good idea. She is kind of doing the duck lips.
Way more motivated to be not quite as scrupulously honest in the proffer because
Darlene, she is telling the benefit of
if
what
they
the
don't
other
know
accused.
what they're possibly going to get.
Now, the problem with that, and because she is a blind witness, she doesn't know that the state basically didn't didn't offer Hosanna anything. They basically said they would not stand in the way during her resentencing phase. So basically, she could come back after she had testified and she would stand before the same judge. Her lawyers would argue, the state would probably wouldn't say anything or stand in her way, as long as she did a good job, keeping to her story-ish. Now, with the performance that Hosanna put on in this particular trial, I don't think she's going to get much to anything taken off. But because she is a blind witness, she doesn't know that the state didn't give any sort of, number. They basically just said, we will not stand in your way. And she'll be before the same judge. So he's basically going to be, and he has been a fair and, very balanced judge. So I think that she's going to get a balanced and fair reduction. I just don't think it's going to be anything where she thought it was going to be because of the multiple, sort of mistruths and falsehoods and not quite truths that she put in there.
It's just held in, out there like a carrot dangling in front of them for months and months and months. And so they just want to keep the prosecutor happy. They want their story to be whatever the prosecutor wants to hear so that they get the most benefit possible. They want to make sure that they give the government, the prosecutor, what they want, whether that's convicting another co-defendant, whether it's, finding other people who may have been involved in the case, whatever that motivation is.
All right. Well, thank you for that lengthy explanation. I appreciate that. And not to be mean, I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever bought a house sight unseen?
No,
Have you ever bought a car sight unseen?
no.
Have you ever made any significant purchases of anything in material value that you have not seen?
Well, I just had to buy a new washer and dryer, and I did not see it in person before I clicked
Clicked buy.
in Home Depot. I'm expecting it to look like it looked on the Home Depot website.
On the website, right, but you actually saw a picture of it.
Aw, lawyers are people just like us. They buy stuff on the interwebs. Wow, I love it. They're humanizing lawyers.
Yes,
Okay, so you knew what was supposed to come. Obviously, if it doesn't come correctly, you're going to send it back, correct?
yes.
All right, so let me ask this. Why would a prosecutor make an offer and pay for something, so to speak, before he knew what the goods were?
Well, it's not necessarily I'm sorry, my watch is, I hate these newfangled watches because they ring all the time.
All right.
So
This
the
woman is
prosecutor isn't
my spirit
necessarily
animal.
going to say, absolutely, no matter what kind of crap your client comes out with, I'm giving them an F2. So there is a certain amount of leeway. There's a certain amount of play, and there is always, again, this is why a proffer is so nerve.
Like Kid and Play, House Party. You know what? Bring back the Kid and Play flat top. Those were fun haircuts. I like those haircuts. I mean, they looked goofy as heck. Let's be real. They looked goofy as all get out. But for some reason, I'm nostalgic for the goofy right now. If we're bringing back mullets, bring back the Kid and Play, tall, I don't know if there was a name for it, like cone. Well, not cone, but, you just made an oval on your head. She is adorable. I want her. You know what? Let's find a trial that she's working to stream because she seems like she'd be just a ball of kittens and fun.
Nerve-wracking for a defense lawyer. You always have to have a certain level of trust that the prosecutor is going to give you the value of your client's story. The value you place on it may not be the same as the value the prosecutor places on it. That's why I like to have everything written down.
Eon Dubs, I will tell you that the mullet is a favored hairstyle among the teens in rural Indiana. So I don't know if it's back across the United US of A, but I know in Hickville, Indiana, the mullet never really died and is coming back with a vengeance. And it's not the regular, party or business in the front, party in the back. No, it is a curly, fluffy mullet. They like shave these sides and curl this, and then it's just like look, y'all, I don't know. Indiana is not the place to come for fashion tips. It is the place to come to see women who have greased themselves into Daisy Dukes that stopped fitting about 15 years ago. We do have a lot of that. That we do have, some beautiful, beautiful people watching.
Well, all right, written down is usually the proffer letter that you and your client would review and sign, correct?
Yeah,
And it's usually signed by the prosecution, correct?
yes.
And again, we have to know the facts and circumstances of the particular case that we're dealing with as to what information may or may not be appropriate, correct?
Right. For example, like in that case I was talking about with the federal state thing, I told them, hey, my client saw a murder. So they knew that's where it was headed. That had to happen because they needed to reach out to the state prosecutor.
Don't you think that a prosecutor would be committing some form of either malpractice or ethical violation? If you came to me and said, I have a client, but I'm not going to tell you what he's going to say, but I want an offer, and I say, sure, I'll give you a class F6 felony off of the class 2 felony.
I would
Is that
love
not,
that.
I'm sure you would, but that's not appropriate from the other side of things, correct?
Well, prosecutorial ethics and defense ethics are very different. The prosecution's duty is to do justice. The defense lawyer's duty is to do whatever they can.
Okay, oh my Bob Ross, y'all. Now, I'm just sharing this with you because this is too sassy to give up. But the place that I get my skirts from, because I am locked into these skirts because they're comfortable and they work for me, but they are releasing a leopard print. Now, Mr. Moe has put me on a moratorium from buying more clothes. But if a skirt is functional fashion, then I believe he won't notice, but he's the one that goes to the mailbox because I'm an inside cat. So the problem is that he's going to know if I buy it. But I have boobs, so I think I can get away with it sometimes. I should not go into an activity knowing I'm going to get in trouble. Not in trouble, but he's going to ask, where are we supposed to put that? He is the logical one, and I'm like, leopard print, you don't understand. That being said, welcome to Tangent, and we're back to the case.
Can to zealously advocate for that one client. It's so, in other words, I mean, the prosecutor can always say, I don't like I'm not going to go through with this.
Mm-hmm.
But she's a nice one. Okay, y'all, I don't know if I'm the only one, but Lady Fairchild from Mr. Rogers scared the living F out of me. She was the absolute scariest puppet I have ever seen. She looked like she had a heavy drinking problem, like her face, her cheeks were red and rosy and her nose was rosy. But she looks like a happy, sweet one. Like one that would bake you cookies, not one that has gin stuffed in her bra. I mean, so I say if we bring Mr. Rogers back and call me, PBS, I would be willing to do a Miss Moe's Neighborhood. Could you imagine the shenanigans I would get into? I would be a good role model-ish. That being said, I would totally watch it if they modeled the puppet after her and made her much softer because, again, I don't know about y'all, but the alcoholic puppets scared me to death. Like most people are afraid of clowns and stuff. No, it was those marionette puppets. Those puppets haunt my nightmares.
But
could you repeat the last thing? Because I wanted to say something.
You're not going to buy something you haven't seen. Why would a prosecutor go in, and if I'm just sitting in my office and you call me up and say, hey, my client wants to tell X amount of has information on this case that you're handling, but I'm not going to tell you any more about it until you tell me what kind of offer you're going to give. Why would I do that?
Well, and usually what you do is you're like, my client will tell you what the co-defendant did, or what my client will give you access to their, whatever it is. Usually you've got, sometimes this is in writing in the proffer letter, and I have seen this and done this before, where you as the lawyer write up a little summary.
Now that I've shown you guys and I wanted to do evil and get more stuff, Mr. Moe has been working his behind off to try to get the house ready and, take care of his mom and check on his sister. And me buying a skirt is not worth him having one more worry that I am overflowing the place with a bunch of, nonsense. So I will wait. If the leopard print happens to, still be there when I have a room, then I will pick it up. If not, then it was not meant to be. I'm going to try to be a good wife sometimes. Only sometimes. I can't do it all the time. Yeah, this is the part where my brain, as you can tell, would be flying off to different areas because it would have ascertained that this has nothing to do with the MFing case. And I would be pissed off that you're wasting my time with hypotheticals and talking about wash machines. Jem, they have a new cartoon show based on that show that called Daniel Tiger. I think I've seen that. My kiddos weren't quite into that, but I don't. It's, it is whatever it is. I hope that it helps kiddos learn, their P's and Q's and remember to be nice to each other. Because honestly, we need more kindness. And as long as she isn't scary as hell, I don't really care what she looks like. As long as she doesn't look like like an alcoholic old aunt, I'm cool with it. Because those are the ones that want to pinch your cheek until it damn near falls off. And then they smell like sherry and they want to come close to you and be like, I haven't seen you in years. And you're like, this is my personal bubble. I'm a little person. Stay away from me. Sorry. Reliving childhood traumas. Good morning, Tanya Mackey. We are in the defense's case in chief. Their first witness that they've brought is this blind expert. She is a criminal defense attorney. She does have a bunch of experience. She seems like a sweet woman and a nice, woman. But what they're talking about is basically how proffers are done, how plea deals are done. And while this might be interesting to some jurors that want to see how the sausage is made, most jurors are going to be wondering why the hell they're listening to anything that it doesn't have to do with this case and is more of a hypothetical craziness. That's my take on it, but I also have ADHD, and this would bore me to hell once I got the cue that it had nothing to do with the case. I would be writing mean things in my notes, is what I'm saying. I would have to write notes to keep me focused. That's why I'm getting a portfolio so I can write my notes on the side of the armrest, because it does keep me focused, if you guys haven't noticed. But when it comes to these sort of superfluous sort of people, it is really hard for me to pay attention, and I can imagine it's very hard for the jurors to pay attention, especially if they're not legal nerds. I mean, this kind of talk could be like me talking about cars, or someone talking about cars or computers. If you're into it, you're going to really understand it and be very intrigued. But if it is not your jam, this becomes Charlie Brown, wah, 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 wah. At least if you're me. Now, I will keep that in mind, but I am, again, trying to be a good wife, and considering we are getting at least 15 boxes of photographs that I'm going to go through, I don't think we have room for any much more, to be honest. So I will wait, you guys. If it doesn't happen to be a leopard print, I'm sure they're going to come out with a new cool print, that I'll like just as much when, I get to the point where I have dressers. Because Mr. Mo is right. I really only have a couple of boxes that I put all my stuff in. And do I really want, more laundry right now? The answer is no.
My client saw a guy named Joe shoot somebody at 14th and Calumet on December 10th, 2020, or whatever it is. So you're not going in totally blind. You have some idea of what you're getting.
Okay.
And then you work on, there's always going to be back and forth plea negotiation usually.
All right. So before we get to that, I want to show you what's been entered as People's 217. Have you take a look at that for a minute, please?
Okay. Do you want me to read the whole thing thoroughly, or?
Well, I assume you know what that is.
Well, I do, yeah.
Okay, that is what we would call a proffer letter. Is that correct?
Yes.
All I want you to note in there is if you see anywhere in there where there's any type of offer that has
Gregory Benway, actually, so we are a giant family, and we lucked out and found a state-of-the-art 1971, I believe, built house that was built for a family with 7 children. Unfortunately, it was entirely clad in paneling. So my husband has made all the kids' rooms because they had those vinyl dividers. It really was a land, it really had stayed directly in its own time period of the 70s. So Mr. Moe has construction knowledge, so he drywalled and insulated all the upstairs. And my room was kind of being put off, but with the hard winter, we kind of made the executive choice to get me a new bed and make things a little easier. So removing the carpet will mean that when I have my desk on my bed or a roll-up desk for my bed, it's easier to move. If I need to put things on, wheel stands, it's easier to move. And the carpet, look, we try to be a good, clean people, but with 6 children, my carpet looked like it had full-blown Ebola. Okay, it was just nasty. So we removed the carpet. We're putting down vinyl floor. Well, I do like to have those single entendres going. Putting in the vinyl wood planking, and my room had paneling, but it was outside and right on top of the garage, so it was the coldest room in the house. So Mr. Moe is adding soundproofing and tons of insulation so that my room will be pretty good, and then he's building a super big closet. So it's more that we're just trying to make things a little more functional for me, easier to clean, things like that. I have one of those, those hotel lobby, or they use them in the movie theater, they're like dustpins on a stick. Well, it's hard for me to bend down and use a dustpan, so I have a dustpan on a stick and I just kind of, use it. But it's unfortunately also thinking forward. There are days that it really hurts to walk where maybe and stubbornly I've been avoiding it, but maybe I might do better in a wheelchair of sorts. So, getting vinyl flooring will make it easier to maneuver that if that becomes something that needs to happen. And also just make things, a little bit easier for me to use with my walker as well. So that's what we're kind of doing. And I'm glad I'm in a place where I can gracefully accept all the changes, because I don't think several years ago I would have been. It's still, look, I'm a scotch, having a hard time with it, but not as much as I used to. So if you are, dealing with chronic pain or maybe changes in your body and it's been really hard to deal with it, it is okay to grieve those things that you lost. But there are so many things that we can adapt, and it'll come to you whenever you're, at that spot where you can learn to adapt things and, not focus so much on the things you can't do, but focus on what you can adapt to do. And it's not an easy mental switch, but it really does help. At least it's helped me. And it's not an everyday thing, y'all. There are days you're just going to struggle with it, but, always remember that there are things we can adapt to do. And, life has a bunch of possibilities if we just think about things a little outside the box.
Has been made to that individual.
Okay, you guys, I am again fast forwarding because this woman has nothing to do with anything. I mean, I like her. She's a sweet woman, but learning how a proffer is made is not going to help the jury. And all right, so let's see who's next.
Your Honor, the defense calls Sarah Erfer.
Sarah Erfurt, all right, thank you.
And she was a sweet woman, y'all. I'm not dogging her, but there's just...
Thank you. Ms. Erfurt, if you
was,
can come forward and just
I have no
stand in
idea
front
why
of the
she was
witness stand
there.
for me. All right, thank you. And ma'am, can you please raise your hand for me?
Okay, now I am not trying to make fun of the judge, but this face, y'all, this is a face of, is it a fart or is it a shart? It is that terror face of, oh my God, am I prairie dogging or not? And you can tell I am a boy mom because this is what I come up with. Because if I were a girl, I'd just say, just a girl mom, I'd probably say he looks like he's constipated. But a boy mom will say, yeah, that is I'm a toddler and I know I should probably be potty training because I'm going to go hide in the corner to poo. I will. Okay, come. Oh my Bob Ross. That is almost exactly the same. If he, got oh wow. Daggone it, KLF. Now all I'm gonna see under his robe is this. And y'all know I can't be, counted on to be, well, what is it? Mature. So now every time I see him in his robe, I'm gonna imagine this under it. Y'all, why do you set me up for failure? Did they spray him with sweat? Did they spray him with like little pieces of water? And y'all, can I just say, I feel seen now because look at this. He's got a muffin top too. Sir, I feel seen and appreciated. You are brave and beautiful for showing your muffin top off, and I just feel seen, so thank you. Oh my God. Sticky Widget, was the defense trying to say that all plea deals are basically contrived and witnesses that receive them can never be trusted and are always lying? Yes, that's basically what they were doing, but again, I don't know how much more you need to attack Hosanna's credibility. I think the jury is smart enough sometimes, and especially since they found her guilty, but I think that the defense isn't giving the jury enough credit. Now, maybe they aren't, they're reading that the jury is more sympathetic to Hosanna. Maybe they're trying to, again, just really point out that Hosanna has a lot to gain. But I think they did that in a very ham-fisted and I think inappropriate way, bringing her children into it. I do think that they could put on that she's a mom, but again, the videos of the children talking to her, the kind of prolonged interrogation about her lying to her children was, I think it was more giving sympathy to Hosanna. KLF, that makes a lot more sense after I read the whole statement, because I was like, I don't know that I would be admitting that on the internet. But KLF says, fun fact, Taz saw the inside of my uterus back in 2001. My ex worked at a food store, deli. Taz was shopping, and my ex showed him my sonogram. That makes much more sense than the first sentence. But congratulations.
All right, thank you. And ma'am, can you please raise your hand for me? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. All right, thank you, Ms. Erford. And Ms. Erford, can you get just as close to the microphone as is reasonable so we have a good record? And Ms. Trujillo, you may begin when you're ready.
And also, okay, can we go back to this? And I have been in this mode before. Okay, y'all, look. No amount of draping clothes and solid black is going to hide the fact that we're fluffy. But there are clothes out there that look so much more flattering, that would accentuate that she does in fact have a smaller waist than hip ratio. There are things that, she could wear a better bra. I mean, I'm just saying, I have been there before, and nothing is going to make you look not fluffy, but there are much more flattering clothes out there now. And I wish that, maybe we would be better at encouraging people to love the body that they have while working on the body that they want. And yes, Tanya Mackey, I think that the defense in this case punched below the belt by bringing the children into it, because I think all they had to say was she was a mother. And I think every mother or father on the jury would connect with wanting to go back to your kids and see that as a motive.
Can you get just as close to the microphone as is reasonable so we have a good record? And Ms. Trujillo, you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Surfer.
Good afternoon.
Could you please just introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name?
It's Sarah Urfer, Sarahurfer.
Thank you. And Ms. Urfer, where do you currently work?
Chemitox Consulting,
And what is that?
forensic consulting company.
What do you do for them?
I'm a forensic toxicologist.
All right. And exactly what does a toxicologist do?
Toxicology is the study of the effects of poisons, which
Are you kidding me? So they're going to go back to the fact that Chris had a very high BCA. Now, again, there is a point to bringing it up. It might, and it goes with the narrative that maybe he was acting aggressive out of character. And, you know, drunks are known to have lower inhibitions, to maybe do things that they wouldn't do, you know. Slight dingus sighting there. Dingus, there is no food over there for you. Do not get on the... No, sir. We have talked about this. Sir. I love that I'm negotiating with my cat like I have power over him. And I love that he's now just stolen my bed like he lives here. Let me see if I can... No, I can't move it that much, but yeah, he's just like, nah, I'll just lay on your bed. Again, I do understand where the defense is going. I just think that this is... I would just have Stacy testify. I think that these witnesses, these side witnesses, haven't done much. And I think I am going to just go to Stacy testifying, because y'all, if Chad is okay with it, I'm going to Stacy testifying. Dingus, Malingus, McGurkin, stop. No, come here, no. Listen, not the desk. I know you don't like this, but would you just, if you could, for the love of all that is holy and unholy, for goodness and hoodness, what is wrong with you? You were supposed to, look, you were supposed to get debulbed and be good. Instead, you're still an ass. You're like Lilo and Stitch. You're still 70% ass, even without the balls. How did that happen? How do I always pick the lovable a-holes? All right, we've got about 45 minutes, so let's try to get this going. Dingus, I swear, if you dumpster dive, I will lose my mind. All right, this is 6, 7. Okay, let me just run through this and see, make sure oh yeah, she is testifying. In all black, seriously? Y'all went all black with... Okay, ma'am, I have been mean to you, but you do look like a new mama, so I'll give you grace. And ma'am, I hate to tell you, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but them under eye bags are never going away. You can buy the serums, you can buy the toxins. Now, I have never been using the like injectable Juvederm or whatever, but you have children now, so you are just going to have under eye circles. It's kind of like a gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, work on your collar. That's what's going to help you. Don't do the lizard lip thing on stand, you dingus. Oh, wait, no. Who is this chick that's on the stand? Oh, I guess we're getting one person before her. I know that's why I've been putting chapstick on all the time, or a lip gloss, because it's just I'm like, don't lick your lips.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name?
Brooke Mendoza, Mendoza.
Thank you. Ms.
All right, I'm
Mendoza,
going to
where
turn
do you
me
work?
down and
I'm
try
an
to
investigator with the
boost her.
office.
How long have you been there?
I've been with the office since February of 2013 and investigator since January 1st of 2014.
And generally, can you explain to the jury some of your roles as an investigator?
I review discovery, I interview witnesses, I request records, do subpoenas, evidence viewings, scene views, many, many things.
Thank you. In the course of, I guess, your role as an investigator, have you worked on Ms. Rodriguez's case?
I have.
And as part of your job duties as an investigator for Ms. Rodriguez's case, did this entail going to an evidence view?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what an evidence view is, where we go, what are we looking at?
You go to the department that did the investigation on the
Okay, I double, triple, quadruple hate this jacket. I hate this jacket to the depths of my soul. And I don't know why, but it is just the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I feel like such a butt monkey because maybe it's her favorite jacket, it's her confidence jacket. But I hate it to the depths of my soul.
case, and they have every piece of evidence that they've collected, and we review all of those items.
And when we review those items, is it the defense team and then some representative from the Greeley Police Department?
Yes.
And is that representative from the Greeley Police Department usually the individual who is handling the physical evidence?
Yes.
And then do you take photos of those?
I do.
So I want to show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit N, N, OO, and PP.
All right, go ahead.
It's just, I don't like any of it. I don't like pink. I don't like that
Permission to approach?
color purple. I don't understand plaid. And it's all wrinkly. It looks
So
like it's
feel free to Look
linen.
through those and tell me when you're finished.
Yeah.
Do those photos look familiar?
Yes.
Were these photos that you had taken in the evidence view?
Yes.
And are these photos, I suppose a little redundant, but of evidence that you saw in the evidence view?
Yes.
Okay. Do these look fair and accurate to what you had seen when we were at the Greeley Police Department?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, we would move to admit NN, OO, and PP.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, the court will admit into evidence exhibits NN, OO, and PP, and you may publish at your discretion.
Thank you.
Could be. And it could be that pink and pastels are not my jam. They just aren't. I don't like them. Oh, dear God in heaven. Look, the God of fashion would not allow that to happen. I don't think. You know what it is? That looks like it should go on outdoor furniture, like a throw pillow. That's what it is. And personally, I don't like any of the patterns that they have for outdoor. No, it is super low. Let me see if I can get the Known for Justice one, or the 9, 10. Let's see if this is a better fit.
Oh, what are we looking at?
You go
right,
to
how
the
does that
department
feel or
that
sound?
did the investigation on the case, and they have every piece of evidence that they've collected, and we review all of those items.
And when we review those items, is it the defense team and then some representative from the Greeley Police Department?
Yes.
And is that representative from the Greeley Police Department usually the individual who is handling the physical evidence?
Yes.
And then do you take photos of those?
I do.
So I want to show you what's
Yes.
been marked as Defense Exhibit N.
Again, please go give Justice is a Process a sub. They do wonderful jobs. I have been using them this trial. They take out all the breaks. It seems like they boost the audio. And they just do a wonderful job. So, give them a sub, help support them because, I'm using their feed or their, audio magical stuff. So give them a sub. I have, just an appreciation because they have done awesome work.
N, N, O, O, and P, P.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Tell me when you're finished. Evidence that you saw in the evidence view.
Yes.
Okay. Do these look fair and accurate to what you had seen when we were at the Greeley Police Department?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, we would move to admit N, N, O, O, and P, P.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, the court will admit into evidence exhibits NN, OO, and PP, and you may publish at your discretion.
Thank you.
You came back just in time. Y'all, I swear to all that is holy, if this is some irrelevant tangent that we are about to go on, and I know I say that as the pot calling the kettle, you know, well, cast iron. I know that. I know that I tangent, but I swear to goodness, these are professionals. If we tangent off into something hypothetical here, I will lose my giblets. I don't ever use giblets. I know some people like grind them up and put them in the gravy for the turkey, but that is just not my jam.
Could all right, Ms. Mendoza, so behind you. Is this defense NN?
Yes.
Okay, and here, can you just kind of explain what we're looking at generally?
It's the bag that the department stored the evidence in and sealed. The red tape is the seal. There's a date that marks the date that they sealed it. And then the white tab or the white tag in the middle indicates what's inside of the bag.
Okay, and if you can
What's in the
see, and
box,
I can zoom in,
man?
or if the
What's in the
photo
box?
helps, it says like at the top what is in the bag itself.
Yes.
Okay, and does it say head area debris?
Yes.
I want to then look at OO, and I will publish that.
What exactly are you trying to prove here? That he didn't die?
Alrighty, is this OO?
Yes.
Okay, and I think maybe yours is just on its side.
Yes.
Okay, and so is OO fair and accurate to what we saw in NN? Of what is inside the bag?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And so what we're looking at here is debris, assuming, right, from the Greeley Police Department that they had collected inside Mr. Dickerson's home from around where his head was.
Yes.
Okay. And do you know that this is, I mean, how do you know this? Based on the label as well as your review of discovery?
Yes.
Okay. And at the
80s music, man. On a random ADHD note, this is the Petty Express and ADHD train. And said, I wanted to let you know I got a new coffee mug, Twizzlers. I'm proud of it. And on the bottom it says, it's cool to be tweet and I'm still kind of a kid. I love it. I have that octopus mug that my kids are so attempting to steal. And I keep telling them, no, it's mine. And Tanya Mackie says, I'm by no means a fashionista, but I know my fabrics and I can be a little judgy when it comes to people's fashion choices. Oh, tweet. So are they trying to prove here that no glass fragments were in there so he didn't get beamed on the head with a glass bottle?
kind of, I guess, singled out here, we see something that's like lighter color that isn't like the dark next to it. Is that, do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. What is that? What is that lighter colored piece?
It was a piece of glass.
Okay. And how do you know it's a piece of glass?
By viewing it, I could see that it was a piece of broken glass. We turned it.
Again, what is her expertise in glassology? I mean, if the state wanted to be really petty, they could say, does she have a degree in, chemistrology and glassology? I'm sure there's a subsection of glassology. I'm sure there is.
And looked at it, and it was clear in color, a little thicker of a piece, and was a piece of glass.
Okay. Now I want to show you PP as well, just similar.
The buffer of death circling around, making my life seem all the way down. But
All right, is
then
this
it
what you see as
comes up 'cause
PP?
internet
Yes.
is
Okay, and is this the same piece of glass that we saw in 00?
Yes.
It's just kind of like closer up.
Yes.
When you were looking at this, did this piece of glass look more like a clear piece of glass that might have been dirty or like a dark broken bottle?
It appeared to be a clear piece of glass.
When you were doing the evidence view, did you, especially in this area, in this bag, would you agree that
It's no, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. If there's no brown glass, she didn't kill his ass? I mean, it does kind of rhyme, but I don't know if you can use the word ass. Yeah, they have to work with what they have. I get that they have to work with what they have, and they probably knew that this was an uphill battle. But I think it looks dumb to make these arguments. I think it makes you look stupid and grasping at straws. Had they kept it short and simple, had they not introduced all this and simply put the onus on, Hosanna being an unreliable narrator, had they focused on that and not going below the belt and brought her kids in, I think it would have been a much more compelling, case for them. I still think that it probably wouldn't have worked, but I think that it just seems like grasping at straws. It seems like throwing spaghetti, and it does seem like you are insulting the jury's intelligence.
in the bag itself that we were looking at in NN had a lot of like debris in it?
Yes.
Okay, more debris than what was captured just on those photos?
Yes.
And were you able to shift through that debris?
Yes.
Okay, did you see any other dark broken pieces of glass?
No glass.
Did you see anything that would resemble a broken Budweiser bottle in the head area debris?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mendoza.
All right, thank you. Any cross-examination?
Everything she said was stupid.
Morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
So to be clear, that's the one bag of limited debris around where the head was generally found, right?
Yes.
You do understand there's an allegation in this case that the body was moved, correct? You
Yes.
understand that, right?
Yes.
And so you saw the other photos of the scene with the very deep debris and around the couch and all those areas. Did you review that debris?
Well,
I can't
now
say.
that you asked.
I'm asking, did you go over all of that?
In the house?
Correct?
No.
Okay. And so what I'm saying is those other areas around that, you don't know about
I
that
did
glass,
like
do you?
it.
I do not.
And so you would agree with me that if the body was moved in this area, that the area that you looked at in that bag would not be the area where the head originally was, if it was moved, correct?
And I'm sorry, give me just a moment here.
She's like, objection, you're killing my
I'll
case.
overrule the objection. The witness can answer if she knows.
You would
And the
agree with
judge
that,
is
right?
like, you already killed it.
It could. I can't agree with you. Yes.
You can't agree. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Briefly redirect.
Yes, go ahead.
Ms. Mendoza, did you look at other debris during the evidence view?
I did.
Okay. When you reviewed discovery as well as what you saw in the evidence view, did it appear that the Greeley Police Department had put a lot of debris that was found in the home into like empty paint cans?
Yes.
Did you go through all of those paint cans?
Yes.
Okay.
They put them in empty paint cans to test for accelerants. It's not like they were using red Solo cups like Canton. There is actually a reason behind which they put the, debris in a, metal can. Now, I don't remember all the science. I do remember watching something about true crime and arson detection that they put it in, metal paint cans to test for accelerants. So it's not like they were just like, oh, what do we have, Cletus? Well, we got these Lowe's bottles and we got these empty Sherwin-Williams things. Now, again, I don't remember the science behind it, but I know there's a reason-ish.
When you were at the evidence view and you were shown well, I guess first let's start off. When you were prepping for the evidence view, do you have a list of what you're going to see?
Yes.
Okay. And some items on the list included debris.
Yes.
Some items on the list were not debris.
Correct.
The items that included debris you looked through.
Yes.
Okay. The items that the Greeley Police Department had that they considered debris that was collected from the home, you looked through.
Yes.
You never went to the home to collect any debris, correct?
I did not.
That's also not part of your job, is it?
It is not.
Okay. And all of the debris that you looked at the Greeley Police Department that they had put into evidence, did you ever see any type of dark broken glass?
No.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ms. Mendoza, you can leave the witness then. Thank you, ma'am.
Well,
The
you-
defense may call their next witness.
Innocent.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can I just have one moment?
Sure. Can you give those to the court reporter, please? Thank you.
She done it. I feel very, yes, they were. And they are evidence cans. They're not just like empty Sherwin-Williams. It's not like the police, you know, when they're done painting their living rooms, bring their empty cans in. It's not, the way the defense said it was very smarmy, smugly, but it's actually,
And I'm sorry, Mr. Hill, do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
okay,
truth?
I am sorry. I
Thank you.
thought
Go ahead and have
that
a seat. And Mr. Hill.
in my defense, she was wearing all black, and I forgot that she should, again with the all black and her on the defense stand. All right, look, we're here for what we were all here for. Because I've got 30 minutes before I have to go pick up the young Farrells. They're like, don't be an ass and
So, Ms.
smile.
Rodriguez, your attorney has advised me that this is an appropriate time to revisit with you the issue of your choice. A question for me about those. And Ms. Trujillo, you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Rodriguez, do you have water up there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to just kind of tell us how you're feeling sitting up there right now.
I feel nervous.
Nervous? Okay. Are you scared?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you scared about?
I just have a lot of anxiety.
And Ms. Rodriguez, I'm sorry, can you bring the microphone a little bit closer to you? It's a little hard to hear you.
You have a lot of anxiety, you said?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about what?
What do your feelings have to do with this?
Maybe just because there's a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of
Okay,
people.
but see, the state objected. No, wait. The state objected in the Theodore Edgecombe case to, did he feel nervous having to talk to the attorney, and did he feel nervous about the charges? So maybe they can talk about feelings. I don't know. Oh, and I have my favorites. This is the reason for the cans. These containers prevent volatile ignitable liquid residues from evaporating and ensure the integrity of evidence for laboratory analysis. Thank you so much, I have favorites, for letting us know. I knew there was a reason, but I could not remember to save my life. So thank you so very much. I appreciate the collective knowledge of chat.
People watching you?
Yeah.
A lot of people going to listen to what you have to say?
Yeah.
Stop
That makes you
licking
nervous?
your lips.
Yeah. Okay. Why are you testifying?
So the truth can be out.
Is that important to you?
Yeah, it is.
How come?
Because it's what's right.
Now, of course, you've been sitting here for the last 2 weeks. You've heard a lot of evidence. I know that you were aware of your own case, and you heard Ms. Varela testify, right?
Yeah, I did.
How did it feel to hear her say things against you?
I feel like it was like a lot of emotions. Like I was like sad and like disappointed at the same time.
Disappointed?
Yeah.
What are you disappointed about?
Because she wasn't telling the truth.
I want to get into
Because
the
she's my
specifics
whole ass
of what
soulmate.
you believe that she wasn't telling the truth about. So we will get there, okay?
Yeah.
Have you been in the Wells County Jail since November 2021?
Yes, I have.
Okay. When was the last time you saw Ms. Varela?
I don't remember exactly when our last court appearance was, but it was in court.
More than a year ago, you think?
Yeah, definitely. It was maybe like around 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you nervous to see her?
Yeah, I was.
How come?
Because I feel like she's like what, like from like obviously an experience like that. Like I feel like she's what like just seeing her is like brings everything, you know.
Bring everything back?
Yeah.
Back to October of 2021?
Yeah.
Have you ever?
Again, they should have had her take her hair out. They should not have had her in solid black. She looks like a prisoner. And why would you do that when your whole, point is to make her look like not a prisoner?
Ever not been able to think about October 2021?
No,
Dang
not
it.
really.
So seeing Hosanna kind of, did it add that additional component to what you've already been dealing with the last 4 years?
Yeah.
And just so you know, I am working on a bitch fire emoji. I just have forgotten how to get to add emojis. So I need to watch the YouTube video, the dummy video, to tell me how to get it.
Was it a hard decision for you to get up here and share your story with the prosecutor or with the jury?
With the prosecutor, yes, it's going to be hard.
In a sense, yeah.
How come?
I feel like it's more because I have like a lot of like social anxiety, but like, yeah.
Okay. I think it's important for the jury to hear kind of what that social anxiety looks like from you, because you are going to be sharing some details. So tell us kind of, or tell me, when you get anxious, do you get quiet?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you sometimes laugh?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Do you laugh maybe at times?
Okay, Stacy, I don't want to have really a lot to, connect me to you, but laughing at inappropriate times, for some reason, my scared thing or my hurt tends to go to laughing instead of crying, which is inappropriate at all times, especially like when you're supposed to be crying and you're kind of hysterically laughing instead. So, I kind of get that. I do get that it can, since the, phrenic nerve is, I guess mixed up, it can get a little mixed up, but I get laughing at inappropriate times is all I'm saying. I don't want to have a whole lot that connects me to Stacy, but I get it.
Is it just kind of the response to the anxiety?
Yeah, it is.
Not necessarily that you're laughing at something funny?
Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay. Any other way where you feel that that kind of anxiety speaking in front of people shows, besides being quiet and maybe laughing?
Not really. I feel like that's
the basis.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about kind of your social anxiety.
So I am looking at getting a really comfy, maybe a good chair, not like a office chair. So I might have to look at those. You know what I will say? The one thing I will kind of rant about as far as adapting things. Why is it so expensive to buy things that, can help with pain, like a zero gravity chair or, a bed that adjusts? It's ridiculous how much how much more money you have to invest to kind of make, things adaptable. It's irritating just the scotch. Oh, back to the talking.
In 2020, 2021. Okay. First, before we do that, can you tell me around the year that you met Hosanna? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was like 2020.
2020. Okay. And did you all meet working at JBS?
Yeah, we did.
So 2020, then, we're here for 2021. You'd agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you share kind of what that social anxiety was like at the time that you first met Ms. Varela and then, into the fall of 2021? What was it bad? Was it?
Yeah, it was a lot worse then.
A lot worse than it is now? Mm-hmm. Okay. How was it worse?
Like I feel like I just really just wouldn't talk at all. Yeah.
Okay. Would you consider yourself a social person at that time?
No.
Did you have a big group of friends?
No.
Have you ever really had like a big social circle?
Good idea.
Were you pretty close with your family in 2020, 2021?
Yeah.
Okay. We heard, obviously, I'm sure you've also heard sitting in here that kind of like where you were living at the time. So did you live with your family in 2020?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Who did you live with?
With my mom and my brothers.
How many brothers do you have?
I have, well, they lived there. There was only 2, but I have 4 brothers.
4 brothers. Are you the youngest?
Yeah, yeah.
How old were your brothers when you were living at home with them in about 2020? If you can remember.
I just remember my youngest brother, he was about 23.
23. Okay. Okay. And you were how old in 2020?
I was 18.
18. Okay. Had you ever, prior to meeting Miss Varela, Hosanna, ever lived by yourself?
No.
Okay. Had you always lived in that same house?
Yeah.
In 2020, when you met Hosanna, you're working at JBS. What was your position at JBS at the time?
So I first when I started work,
when I met her.
Or like, no, when you first started working at JBS and you met Hosanna, what department were you working in?
So when I first met Hosanna, I was working in COVID sanitation.
What did that entail?
We would use like cleaning supplies to like clean like the whole building and stuff like that, like inside and out.
Okay. And Hosanna had talked about her.
Does anyone believe she did a really good job cleaning? I mean, I don't want to profile, but do you think she got to the baseboards and like really scrub stuff? I'm going to push F for doubt or X for doubt.
Her working in the rendering.
Yeah.
And you never worked in rendering.
Not really. Like they would try to send us over to help out, but it was always cold, so
Didn't like it?
no.
Okay. So the COVID sanitation, what kind of cleaning supplies did you use?
Bleach. There's like another one, but it was like in a fog machine, so I don't know what was exactly in there.
Okay. Are you allergic to bleach?
No, I'm not.
Do you know why Hosanna would say that you were allergic to bleach?
I have no idea.
Okay. Besides the COVID sanitation and cleaning with bleach, have you ever used bleach before?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
My sister-in-law, she would make me like wash the dishes with bleach, so to make sure they were extra clean and stuff. And then obviously like laundry, and then my mom sometimes uses it on the floor when she mops.
Okay.
So I would mop.
Been around a lot of it.
Yeah.
Did you ever use it for like your own personal items?
For my shoes.
Tell us about that.
Because I have I like white shoes and stuff like that. So when you clean them, they it just gets cleaned a lot better with like if you scrub them with soap and bleach.
Okay. Tell me if you don't remember this, but throughout the trial, we saw some photos that the prosecution had shown. I think this was
COVID sanitation, scrubbing the walls. Oh, I didn't see Superstition. And I'm having a brain fart. I love that song, but I cannot get the the beat right in my head.
when you were outside that West Points bank and you were wearing white shoes.
Yeah.
This is kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to go into a little bit more about, how you met Hosanna, your kind of relationship and how that developed, but I want to pause real quick. Have you and I talked a lot or before about what you said happened on October 2nd and October 3rd?
Yeah.
Okay. Have
we talked a lot about your story that you're supposed to say, blink one. Now, and then, y'all, if I were a lawyer, I swear to goodness, I would have signals. I'd be like, okay, when I touch my hair, you're supposed to really think about the question. And if I scratch my, face, because I would not trust my defendant. No. The defendant is going to treat the defendant like a toddler who has had a pixie stick. They can be good or they could be terrible. And wash your plate with bleach? Who does that? I mean, I'm not trying to, but wouldn't you get I don't know, something bad on bleach on plate? No. This is from Mama Mo. Don't use bleach on your plates. No. Dawn will do. And, Great Value Dawn works just as well. Though I will tell you, y'all, get yourself that power wash. Now, I know it feels dumb buying, spray soap for $5. I know. But if you have really welded on food, I don't know what they put in that spray, but it helps get all that really, really caked on gunk when you have kids who hide plates in their rooms. So, yes, it does hurt your soul a little bit to pay $6 for a little spray bottle of soap. But whatever magic they put in there, look, I approve. I will spend the $5 or $6. Oh, yeah. I live by Magic Clean Erasers. Yes. Sticky widget. And to all of you out there in the chat, please do not mix bleach with ammonia. You will make mustard gas. Don't do that. It's bad for your health. It's just don't. Much like washing your plates with bleach, just don't.
Spoken with the defense team before? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. No, that's okay. Have we had a lot of conversations about this?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you and I go over the fact that you might testify?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Did we go over the questions that I would be asking you?
Yeah.
Okay. Did I ever tell you what to say?
No.
Did I ever tell you to change your story?
No.
Did I ever tell you to say something different?
No.
Did I ever tell you to say you're going to have to say this?
I'll allow the question.
Did I ever tell you that you would have to say this because Miss Varela said that?
No.
Okay. And we're talking about 2021, and you heard about Miss Varela in the proffer looking at some of the discovery beforehand. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen all the discovery as well in your case?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Have you read all the police reports or seen a lot of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you looked at photos?
Yes.
Have you looked at surveillance videos?
Yes, I have.
Do you feel that you have a pretty good grasp on what the prosecution is putting against you?
Yes.
Okay. When we were sitting throughout this trial and you're seeing a lot of the evidence and on that table, everything that the prosecution has put forth, was this your first time seeing any of that stuff?
I seen it in Discovery.
Okay, so you have seen this before. Did you watch Hosanna's proffer before?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and that was 7 hours. Was that 7 hours?
A little bit over, I think.
Okay. Did you watch the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay. So today, when you're testifying and you're telling the jury, your story, is that coming from what you believe to be true?
Yes.
Give me just a second. I'll sustain that objection. Ms. Trejo, if you want to rephrase. Sorry.
Are you testifying from your own personal knowledge?
Yes, I am.
Anything that we've heard over the last 2 weeks, has that influenced
Thank you so
what you might tell
much.
the jury today?
I did not know that.
Has anything you've heard over the last 2 weeks changed what you remember to be true?
No.
Okay. So let's go into you and Hosanna's relationship, okay?
Okay.
So y'all meet at JBS. Did it start as a friendship?
Yeah, I did.
All right.
Oh, no.
How
I'm
did you
sorry,
guys become
Linda
friends?
Lou.
We had a mutual friend.
At JBS?
Yeah.
That introduced you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you all kind of start hanging out while at work?
Well, we started at first like eating lunch together, so we would like take our lunch when she would take hers. So like, yeah.
Okay. Was there a point where you started to have more feelings for her than just a friendship?
Yeah.
Okay. You might not, again, years ago, you might not remember exactly when that changed for you, but you kind of remember how long you all were friends before you started to develop feelings for her.
A couple months, I believe.
Okay. When you guys started seeing each other versus just kind of like being friends, did you start hanging out more?
Yeah.
Did you all hang out? Did you spend most of your time with Miss Varela?
Yes.
Okay. So once you guys kind of started dating, whether or not, did you ever put a label on your relationship?
No, I didn't. No.
Just putting.
Have her lie. First, well, but lie. Because you, after you did it or what have you, wrote that note, I do believe, that said, like, I got a ring on your finger. You ain't going to go to no one else. I would unalive for you. You're my queen, and I gave you a ring. So I think she labeled it. I'm a call lie. That is a lie right there. She is lying.
A label on your relationship make you feel kind of uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Why?
I feel like I'm not really like open with stuff like that.
Okay. What do you mean?
Like being with the girls.
Okay. Do you date men?
No.
Okay. Have you only ever dated women?
Yeah.
Okay. But still, is it kind of the public relationship isn't something that you really jive with?
No, it's not.
You and Hosanna spent, did you?
It's not that she doesn't jive with it. I'm guessing that her entire family doesn't jive with it. And that's sad. Again, your kiddos are going to come to you as they are. And you know what? So your dream changes and they are going to bring home a lady instead of a guy. If that lady or guy or Zimzer treats your kiddo well, honors them, respects them, and helps them grow, then by darn it, I don't care if they come, gold, silver, creed, short, tall. I will have to say, a furry, I would ask questions. Look, I'm not above everything, y'all. But if they treat my kiddo well and my kiddo flourishes and is loved and is happy, I really don't care. As long as they don't lick their lips like that, look, I'd have to say no, just on principle, but anything else. I have it at 1.25. Well, goals. Maybe next year it'll be Xbox. I feel incredibly sad. that, you know, her family probably didn't accept her. And, you know, despite everything she's done, I know that is a deep hurt. Now, it doesn't excuse anything that she's done, but doggone it, it breaks my heart when there are families that, you know, just, and I get it, it's a family, it's a cultural thing. I'm not trying to judge anyone, but it does break my mama heart when that happens.
You all spend most of your time together.
Yeah.
Did people know, in your opinion, that you all were together?
I believe it was pretty obvious, yeah.
Okay. When you and Hosanna were together, were you seeing other people?
At the beginning, there wasn't really like, so I thought, yeah, I was, but then
Did you stop?
So you were both cheaters.
And then throughout your relationship, when you were really, like, I suppose, without the label, but actually with Miss Varela, you weren't were you dating anybody else?
No.
Okay. Do you know if she was?
I wouldn't say dating, but like she'd be with other people.
Okay. Was this including her husband, Javi?
Yeah.
When you started seeing Hosanna, and I want to say, right, when you started seeing her, so when you started like being with her, okay, not just friends, did you know that she was married with kids?
I didn't at first.
How did you find out?
Our mutual friend.
Okay, when?
A little bit.
Come on, Hosanna.
Like,
damn it.
I'm not sure when.
Okay.
But I just remember the whole conversation coming up.
Okay. And was this after, and apologize, this is a very intimate question. Was this after, did you find out after or before you and Miss Varela had sex for the first time?
It was a little bit after.
Afterwards. Okay. Do you remember kind of when things took a shift in your relationship with Miss Varela where it seemed as if...
Damn it, damn it, damn it. Why do I have a good imagination? And y'all, I am going straight to hell. I am going straight to hell. But all I'm imagining is walruses on the beach, and I don't know why, and I'm going straight to hell. But I'm just imagining walruses on the beach. Damn it, I'm going straight to hell. It's not the first date thing. I mean, you also don't bring up that you're married. You know, those are definitely third date things, or after you've gotten laid. I do know why. As long as we're all together, we can just be there and make fun of people there. Yeah, sometimes. Please tell me we're not going to get a play-by-play. Look, I can't handle it. And we've got 4 minutes left, you guys.
We were friends, maybe there was some feelings, but then at that point, like, maybe we'll see where this goes. Was there a shift at that point? Do you remember anything happening?
Well, yeah, there was like after all that, there was a...
Okay. After all that, tell me what all that, what do you mean?
After like we officially like did stuff.
Okay. Miss Varela had talked about the Clarion, and that was the first time that you guys, had sex. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that kind of a noteworthy moment, I suppose, in your relationship for you? The Clarion?
Oh, what?
Was that like a noteworthy moment in your relationship when you guys read the Clarion?
I don't know what that was.
Yeah. So did it mean, like, did something happen at the Clarion where you were like, okay, maybe are we...
Look, if this is not an indictment on the federal education system, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. I mean, I don't understand what a turning point is. Could you explain it? Look, this is what's wrong with public education right here, okay?
Relationship is going to a next level.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Can you explain that? What do you mean by that?
Well, like friends don't usually do that stuff. So like,
Okay.
obviously,
It was the first time you guys were together.
yeah,
How did you feel about your relationship after that?
it was awkward.
Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph wept. I thought she was going to say, what did y'all do? And I was about ready to fast forward and get some bleach for my brain. No offense, but look, I have a very overactive imagination, and right now I'm hearing David Attenborough with walruses in my head, which is really, really not good. On that note, we will probably leave it with awkward relationship. Thank you you guys for making me laugh. I hope I made you guys laugh too. That's what the Petty Express is here for. It is here to look at trials. And because trials are usually, well, full of craptastic humans and craptastic happenings, we try to, never disrespect the victim, but we always try to keep the dark humor and, levity flowing because some of these cases are just god awful. So thank you guys for joining the Petty Express. There will be, so I will be doing Mornings with Mo tomorrow with Shizzy because tomorrow is Friday. I double checked. So head over to Shizzy's channel in the morning because that's where I will be. I will try to put community note to remind you guys if I remember, which I will try to do as soon as I end this stream. But then I do have dental appointments for 2 of the wild most ferals in the morning. So I will probably come back and do an afternoon stream and we will finish off Stacy's Got It Going On. And then we will, go to the verdict read. And I do believe that there are victim impact statements. That is not going to be easy. But again, we honor the victim by listening to their family and getting the full impact of what this, this loss or this action cost them. So thank you all for being here. I will see you very shortly. And if you haven't heard it from a mama today, or you just need to hear it again, you are loved just as you are. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but carry a can of bitch fire because kindness doesn't equal doormat. And I will work on that emoji when I figure out how to put it on. Tanya, I am so very sorry. Hell's bells, I live at a beach where all the sea lions are hanging out on the sand and now my walks are ruined for life. Oh, sorry. That is my you have wild ferals to pick up. Have a lovely day, you guys. Let me see who I can send you to because as I always say, I am dead awful at sending you guys to places and I am attempting to be super de duper, well, 90% better. Okay, 45% better. It looks like Recovery Addict is up, so I will send you over to him. He is doing the New Hampshire Jason Leveske, so that looks interesting. And he has all the soundboard stuff. I envy him so much with his ability to do that stuff, and I hope I can get there one day. He is a great guy, so let him know we came from chat, and have a wonderful day. Bye, you guys.